This episode is brought to you by 6XD Gearbox. More on them later. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Minnoxide podcast. I'm your host, Harris, aka Minnoxide, man of many automotive aspirations, and we are back in Texas. I'm so happy to be in Texas. I'm here for Texas 2K, obviously, so that's the big thing to be here for. But nonetheless, another reason I'm here is for our guest today, Zach Denney. Go ahead, tell us a little bit about yourself, ECU Master USA, and all the fun stuff we got going on here. We're just hanging out for about like an hour and a half. There's plenty to talk about here, so just go ahead.
Yeah, I guess kind of, go all the way back, origin story with my automotive habit. Grew up reading Road and Track. My dad, is big into journalism and poetry, but also engineering minded. And so he kind of like blended the two. So we always had good car magazines. There were some great writers in the 90s and the 80s. So I kind of grew up on automotive journalism and fell in love with cars. My dad always had a project or two laying around and, kind of fell in love with like the storytelling and the experiential aspect of cars. And then, I got obsessed with statistics, and when the Viper first came out, I could tell you every stat about it. And as soon as I was able to buy something to work on, in fact, it's actually in the background on that lift right there. There's my first car, is that 1990 Supra that I've had since like 2000. We kind of worked on stuff because we had, not as nice older cars and a bunch of Corollas and stuff that we limped and stuffed oil into and poured oil out of and burned oil and did other things with. But just lifelong automotive enthusiast, kind of ran in the family a little bit, but I've taken it, I think, quite a bit further than anybody else in the family has.
To say further is kind of an understatement. All the stuff in here is kind of like, I'm over here just looking at, what year is the ACR? 16?
Yeah.
16? Oh yeah, press card. That's right.
Yeah.
So you got the press card, and you said let's start with Civics.
Yeah.
What's the story with those?
I'm just an idiot. I really like, so, and again, like, I think that, we all get nostalgic for certain times in our lives. And I got to live through some really special, I think, inflection points in the automotive hobby where, I was already in the street racing scene when Fast and Furious came out. And so we all kind of made fun of it a little bit because it's obviously it's Hollywood. It's not entirely realistic, but it got more right.
Were you street racing at that point in your life?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, don't tell my parents.
Yeah.
But it's why, like, I'm the fourth kid. I have three older sisters, and the fact that they like let a 17-year-old like leave the house on a Friday night with a not fast car, but like not really tell them where I was going. We didn't really have cell phones. Like I was just kind of like a latchkey kid at that point, and say, hey, I'll see y'all tomorrow. And but that was the tollways were pretty new in Dallas. Dallas was not as populated as it is now. And that was back when like a stock twin turbo Supra with the wastegate line pulled and some toluene mixed in with pump gas and a little Marvel mystery oil. I think that was, I broke my 200 mile an hour cherry on, President Bush phrasing, George Bush tollway.
That's crazy phrasing. You broke it on President Bush.
Yeah, but like that a stock twin turbo Supra could even like touch 200 miles an hour is wild. It took a long time. But I was able to, I was already in kind of the scene at that point, and then the movies came out and really just added fuel to the fire. And then, the 90s tuner scene had been around, but really that was a huge inflection point. And so, I'd never seen somebody build all three of the heist Civics, right? I always thought they were kind of like the least appreciated car in the movie. And I've seen people build like one, but the visual impact of seeing all three of them with the underglow blaring is pretty funny. So we need to shoot a commercial for ECU Master with those, and I'll probably sell them off to somebody to enjoy them because
that'd be so cool.
Yeah, it just takes a lot of room to store them. Right? Somebody needs a pretty big warehouse or shop or play garage to store all those.
So they're all built to how exactly are they built?
The same way the movie cars were, which is to say not at all.
Okay.
Yeah. Sure, I think it was Craig Lieberman. He kind of gave the rundown on the high Civics. He's like, yeah, they had like back then even like a $50 eBay exhaust and like maybe coilover sleeves, and they got some wheels that nobody could sell because they're like a weird gold color, and they had a whole container full of them they couldn't sell. I had to like make some Inkies look like the wheels that were in the movie. But there's like nothing done. Like a $50 eBay muffler, like some of them were automatic, some were manual, some were repainted from whatever to black, and then some had sunroofs, some didn't. So it's kind of like there is no original car because none of the originals were all the same.
Right. Brought to you by eBay Motors, right?
100%. Even back then, right? They like ran out of budget on the hero cars. And so the highest cars were like last in line. They got like $50 eBay mufflers and that's it. Probably didn't even get an intake.
So you said, how old were you when you got the, that would be a Mark III, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I bought that when I can't remember if I was 16 or 17.
Okay.
But like, I think the year 2000.
So you've kept it all these years then. How many miles are on it at this point?
Not as many as there should be because it's been a lot of time broken.
Yeah.
And there were several years where like, I'd started engine swapping it from the 7M to a 1J, and life just got in the way with college and work and whatever else. And it kind of sat and got dusty for 3 or 4 years. So it's had periods, but it's kind of cool that like, I've seen a lot of people regret selling their first car, and I've read that story enough times that it didn't really, it's a Mark III. If it was a Mark IV, there would have been plenty of points in my life where I could have used the money and it probably would have been sold, right? Because those cars have been way more valuable. The Mark III, I paid actually $2,700 for that. Found it in the Dallas Morning News back when print ads were a real thing. And then suckered my dad into going with me to look at it. Some dude had clearly just bought it at auction. Still had some other dudes like name tag in the back, named Bubba. And I get the car, start putting a stereo in it because I was a big stereo nut, and found like $540 in 20s stuffed under the console.
Okay,
like
that's nice.
20% refund on it because some guy was the world's worst weed dealer. So yeah.
So at what point does ECUMaster come into, we're jumping way ahead here at this point, and we could come back at some point, but at what point does ECUMaster come into play?
Yeah. So I went back to engineering school in my late 20s.
Okay.
Jumped on the Formula SAE team, like the founding year for the University of North Texas Formula
Where'd you say
SAE
you
team.
went? Texas?
North Texas.
North Texas, okay.
Started at Texas Tech and started engineering school there, and then switched to UNT later, then dropped out for a while and worked in racing shops and other stuff. But, and then, I had an internship at Peterbilt. I was working in their electrical engineering department, and, kind of realized like the starting offers weren't amazing, and I was stuck in a cubicle and nobody really wanted to be there. And you didn't get to do anything like, making taillight harnesses for a Peterbilt is only exciting for so long.
Right.
But I was doing all the electrical for the Formula SAE team, and I used like a very do-it-yourself ECU, and it was not great. The documentation was really like hard to decipher. And, I was like, there's got to be something better that doesn't require as much fiddling as this. And like, I don't want something that's this, I shouldn't be getting inside the ECU to adjust something physically, right? Should be able to do that with a keyboard. And, just on a whim, like some guy had mentioned something about like a piggyback that was made by a company called ECU Master. And so I looked at the company, I was like, oh, they have a standalone. So I looked at it and like started digging a little bit, sent them a nice email. I think one of my friends, I convinced them to get one, and they started playing with it. They liked it. And then I got one. And then basically with a $40,000 loan from my brother-in-law, he bought in, a small percentage of the company and later let me buy him out for like not much at all, basically just kind of we wanted to get you going type deal. Started running it out of a bedroom in a house I rented for college in Denton. And but it all started with just like, hey, I want to be your guy in North America. Can I be your guy? And that was basically it.
So I'm actually curious. I've never asked this question before, but of other people, but more so, how does that kind of international relationship work? Do you basically just oversee all of the states, or like how exactly does that, I guess, work overall? Yeah.
So from the beginning, if we were putting up money to invest in this thing and spend money on marketing and everything else, we wanted to have some kind of contractual territorial agreement. And so that was a big deal for me, was to get, exclusive distribution for North America, because, our Canadian friends have the same interests we do. They just get to import cooler stuff earlier than we do.
Was that 10 years?
15, I think, for 15? Canada, and then 25 for us. Yeah. I wanted exclusive distribution with a territory agreement, because if we're going to invest real money, like you have to be able to make sure that, nobody's dumping or trying to steal your, somebody opens up shop on the other side of the country. That'd be a huge blow. So that was the big deal. We've worked hand in hand, like, they respond to our needs, and, we're talking to customers every day, so they appreciate the insight we give them. And also, as you've seen walking through the facility here, we make a lot of products that are kind of bespoke for this market to meet the needs here. So we are a manufacturer, but we're basically a value add distributor.
Gotcha. Okay. So let's touch on that. So you're obviously doing the distributing side of things. Kind of go into the details of everything that you do as a kind of like a value add. The old untested mics.
Yeah.
But what are the additional things? So you're distributing for ECUMaster at this point.
Yeah.
What's the rest of what are the rest of the things that you're doing out of this facility here?
Yeah. So we actually distribute for 3 companies. We talk about ECUMaster the most because that's the largest in revenue. And that's the one that we make the most value add products for. I'll get back to that in a minute. We also distribute, as of, just over a year now, Delta ABS. So it's a motorsport ABS system.
Okay.
And that one's really, really neat to me because there's not many other products like it, right? Our biggest competitor there is going to be, like a Bosch Motorsport, like M4 system, which is twice the price. and not as easy to buy. People don't have them on the shelf.
How does it compare? Actually, I'm actually curious because Bosch is all I've ever really heard of before. Is that? I understand nothing about that market, but kind of go into the details on like how on how those compare, I guess.
Yeah, so it's a fundamental difference between motorsport ABS and street car ABS. You know, car makers don't want to get sued. Mm-hmm. So they're not trying to stop you as fast as possible, despite what you'd think. They're actually trying to keep you straight, right? And keep you stable and the car doesn't do weird things. But if I'm in a race car and I'm pitching the car in and I've got some slip angle, I want it to keep maintaining that slip angle if I get on the brakes. Mm-hmm. Ideally, right? I don't want it to yaw me around and do weird stuff, right? So motorsport ABS has a different mission, which is we're just going to get this thing stopped as fast as physically possible. So completely different programming there. And Bosch stuff by every description, explanation, experience I've heard is fantastic stuff. Mm-hmm. I think that, I've seen some data overlays and our stuff works just as well. And then the actual physical hardware of our ABS block, it actually has larger accumulators. So it has a little more reserve capacity in terms of volume. Mm-hmm. So if you have a very large volume braking system, you can actually overrun the ABS. You can actually push enough fluid through it that it cannot accept any more capacity and release the brakes. So you can actually overdrive ABS. Mm-hmm. In some situations, it's not common. But in terms of physical differences, that's probably the only one I could think of.
Okay. So Delta ABS is what it was called. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you distribute for them, and then what's the rest of the?
And then Verkline is another Polish company. So ECUMaster is Polish, Verkline is Polish, Delta ABS is in the UK.
Okay.
And Verkline, they do tubular subframes. Like I would guarantee that every fast GTR at TX2K right now has a Verkline subframe in it front and rear. So on that car, they don't change the kinematics, but they do shave about 50 pounds off the car. Mm-hmm. And they allow you to actually remove the transmission without pulling the whole subframe on the rear of the car. You get a little more access to stuff. Mm-hmm. Different applications have different kinematics. We have a drag subframe for the A90 Supra, road racing subframe for the A90 Supra, arms. We have a 15-inch kit for the Lamborghini R8 platform. Mm-hmm. So you can run strange carbon brakes and 15-inch wheels on that one. That's like billet uprights and arms. It's really, really gorgeous. But anything from like rallying to road racing to fast straight line stuff, Verkline does tubular subframes and components for that.
Huh. Okay. Is that all distributors, or did we miss one? You said there's a fourth one? Okay.
Yep.
So then, but also you're doing your own development on the side as well, right? Because I saw a bunch of 3D printers back there, which even the latest edition, the HDD is the new one, right?
I think so, yeah.
I think so, yeah, whatever. So you're doing a lot with that. What does the development look like for you? What are you making out of here? And what's that all look like?
Yeah, so when we started, the first plug-and-play adapters we made were god-awful to make because sometimes I would even buy a stock ECU because I didn't know how to buy the connectors yet. I would desolder the whole connector off of the thing, straighten out every terminal, hand solder a wire to each terminal that needed one, and then use like a hot glue gun and hot melt adhesive to pot the thing, then terminate each of them where they needed to go, then check every single one with the multimeter. And it took hours and hours and hours to make a plug and play. They didn't look consistent. The lengths were hard to get consistent. Mm-hmm. Wasn't ideal. And then now we 3D print housings out of carbon fiber reinforced filament. We do little heat inserted brass threaded inserts. They assemble nicely. They're all done on a board. We have a pretty nice way to not quite automate, but really reduce the labor in the soldering process. And then I showed you our automatic cut strip crimp machine that could spit out the leads for plug and play. It can make like 3,000 of those an hour without a lot of oversight. Mm-hmm. And then they're all like precise to like 1/10 of a millimeter in length. The crimps are perfect. And in the beginning, it was just, where do the wires need to go? That's how you built a plug and play adapter, and you kind of threw it under the dash somewhere and zip tied it to something and away you go. And then now what we're doing, like our side-by-side products that we've done recently, we'll 3D scan the firewall, make a 3D printed housing that drops exactly on the firewall, uses factory hardware. The ECU bolts straight to that. The harness is neat and tidy, just like doubles up and connects. My goal for our side-by-side stuff is you should be able to install a plug and play standalone in about 30 to 45 minutes.
Which is just crazy to me, yeah.
And then it starts up and idles like normal, but then you can add as much as you want to, right? Mm-hmm. Second rail of injectors, flex fuel, boost per gear, boost per speed, different maps, rolling anti-lag, launch control.
Yeah, touch on that because we talked about that a little bit off camera. So basically you spend 30, 40 minutes throwing a standalone in there, and then you guys provide this map, or is that, again, something that was developed in Poland, or?
Nope. Anything branded WHP we make here stateside.
Gotcha. Okay.
So those, we have a 3,000 horsepower mainline hub dyno. And
that's right. I forgot to ask you about that.
So we bring in every vehicle, we baseline it, we measure all the sensors. If we can get the data sheets for the sensors, great, we'll use that. But if even if we get the data sheet, we'll verify the sensors and make sure they're within range. There's a lot of CAN bus reverse engineering that goes into it now. Fortunately, once you do a couple of models from a manufacturer, if they're really nice, they don't change too much between models. If they're Can-Am, good luck. They seem to like have a different engineer doing different things on every single model. But it just depends on the application. Like the Polarises are pretty easy because it's a CVT trans, right?
Right. Okay.
So you need to know what gear it's in because we'll dumb down the throttle scaling in reverse. If you don't have your seatbelt plugged in, we'll dumb down the throttle scaling or limit the speed.
Okay.
There's differential control, the different four-wheel drive modes, all the lights, integration with the dash. So, now it's not just the point-to-point wiring. That's a big part of it. But now it's all the CAN bus integration, making the thing run right in all conditions. If we're not fighting the same constraints as an OEM, we can usually make it cold start a little bit better and drive a little nicer when it's cold. But it's really nice to have a very, very good baseline. I think I told you, like, you could, with the Pro R on our dyno with our unit, the stock ECU versus ours, like you make a couple pulls, it's going to be within like basically 1% to 2% power output on either one, if with it calibrated the way it is. So we really want to send the base map out being something safe. Somebody can optimize it from there for their situation, but we're not going to go nuts on 93 octane here if somebody only has 91 octane available where they are.
When you get to a certain level in a build, whether it be drag racing or drifting, road course, or just a badass street car, you'll have to upgrade your transmission. And when we're talking sequential transmissions, there's no one on the planet with a stronger gearbox than 6XD. And the proof is in the pudding here, folks. Half the FD field is rocking a 6XD, and even 3,000 horsepower Vipers have not been able to tame the best that 6XD has to offer. So if you're ready to take it up a notch, go to 6xdgearbox.com, and when contacting them to place an order, use code Minnoxide5, or reach out via socials to figure out how one of the baddest transmissions on the planet could fit in your build. Let's get back to the show. When did you get into that market?
Probably almost 2 years ago.
Okay, that market's just exploding right now.
It's super fun. You and I, we touched on an aside conversation that, the street car stuff is out of hand, right? Like there's no... And I hate to be the one saying this because I'm normally the guy who would try to justify anything, but a couple thousand horsepower street car, where do you use that and when and why? But a 350 horsepower side-by-side with 30 inches of suspension travel, you can pack the whole family in and go jump over stuff. Like, hell yeah.
It's kind of cool, right?
Exactly. It makes a great vacation. Like you can use all your safety equipment, wear helmets, wear gear, put a good roll cage on it. Like, you can mitigate safety and have a lot of adventure and fun and get a lot of thrills that, as much as I love street racing, it's just not what it used to be.
Do you think 10, 15 years from now we'll be having a conversation about 1,000 horsepower side-by-sides?
They're already existing.
Are they?
Like, yeah.
Like pretty regularly? I know
not
very
a
little
ton.
about that market.
But you have to understand, like, Sandrail's been around forever, right?
Oh, true, yeah.
They're hanging, big blocks and LSs off the back of these things with a couple of turbos hanging off, wheeling all the day long. But side-by-sides are kind of just a cheaper Sandrail that's, it's production based. So it's just a cheaper platform. But one of our dealers, they've got a Pro R motor. This is LaRue. It's Pro R motor, XP900 rails. I think it weighs like 1,600-ish pounds. And with a compound turbo setup, it made like 9 something. And they might have turned it up since then. And like a shocking number of stock parts in it, actually. I mean, stock block, stock head casting, stock differential. Like really a surprising number of stock parts, but yeah, we're already at the 900 mark and probably a little further out of that's a 2-liter engine. Yeah.
Insane. Speaking of light cars and lots of not lots of horsepower. So what was that thing on the lift over, that purple thing with the Crown Royale thing? What would you say that was called again?
It's a Diasio D962.
Okay. So again, there's a lot of variety here. ACR, we got Chasers, we got RX-7s. How do you get into something like that?
So that was a friend was going out a racing sale.
Okay.
So I had already purchased his FD years ago because, again, like he just didn't, he didn't like working on cars. And if you have really obscure road race shit, like you kind of need somebody to work on your stuff.
Right.
And so he just kind of lost interest. And he's like, I have as much fun putting sticky tires on my daily driver Cayman. I was like, yeah, that's probably a better option, is like an all-in-one car. So he basically it needed some love. And so I bought his membership to the track and a lift and part of a Spec Miata that we all shared, and the Diasio was like a package deal. But I had to go through, made one of my employees go through the whole fuel system because I traded him a shifter cart for the labor. But it's a little sports racer. It's Hayabusa powered. They originally had a Yamaha motor, but it's like a 2-lateral G out of the box road race car. Then I'm probably going to get it running, make a couple of laps, and like sell it because there's a lot of fussing with a car like that.
The wing on that thing is stupid, by the way.
Oh, it's huge. Yeah.
It's like a dinner table on the back.
I don't know how to drive an aero car on track properly. Like I don't really want to learn. Like I'm at the point where like I'm very okay with my limits as a driver. Like I have fun going out and doing drifting, but like, do I want to win SCCA regionals or nationals? Like I have zero interest in being that guy.
Well, it seems like you tick every box. You got drifting, you got drag racing, you got road course, but then you also got JDM and American and all that. A little bit of German in there too.
Well, the drag racing is new for me because I've never done any really.
Okay.
Yeah. So got a friend.
What was your start? Was it road course or drifting? Like where'd you land when you were younger?
It was just fast street cars.
Just fast street cars. Okay.
Yeah. It was just like trying to street race on George Bush was kind of where I started, which doesn't require a lot of driving skill, if we're honest. And then, started doing some like lemons racing and road course stuff. And then, but that was kind of it. And then, got the drifting bug because I enjoy the car control aspect of drifting. I think that makes you better at every discipline in racing. And it's not so serious, right? Like people take track racing way too, like everybody's trying to win a track day. You don't win a track day. But, lemons racing is fun because wheel to wheel racing is really fun. Track days are not as fun to me because it's not really wheel to wheel, but drifting is wheel to wheel, but it's not competitive unless you want to join the competition, right? So I think it's that wheel-to-wheel aspect without it being too serious. It means a lot of fun for drifting.
Interesting. I always like to hear people's takes on that sort of stuff because everybody kind of has like their favorite sport that they land in. Yeah. And like you'll die by drag racing, you'll die by roads or circuit. Like it's just kind of all of it. What was your first drift car?
It's actually, it's on the trailer right now. We're going to take it to TX2K tomorrow. It's, what year is it? 2003 350Z.
Okay.
So it's a DE, didn't make any power, but it had nitrous. So at least, 75 shot would wake it up. And at that point, when I first got it, it wasn't even like, didn't have an angle kit. They just cut the steering stops on it to get a little bit more. And, it's pretty, learning on a car with very low angle is challenging because your margins are razor thin. If you throw wise fab on something, you have 70 degrees lock to lock. I'm sorry. It doesn't take a lot of talent up front. It's fun later, but I really think that starting with some constraints is better. And that's kind of what I did.
That's everybody that we've had on the show that talks about drifting says just basically just get like a seat, if anything. Just start with like the basics and then ramp up from there.
And I have the conversation probably 8 times a year where somebody comes up, I want to get into drifting. I want to build something unique. Like, I'm going to stop you right there. Those are 2 conflicting statements. Do you want to get into drifting or do you want to build something unique? Because if you build something unique, you're not going to learn anything about driving the car. You're going to be stuck building a weird thing that may never work. If you really want to get into drifting, buy something that anybody has parts for, anybody knows how to drive and set up. It's sustainable. It's a good platform. Like go get you an HR 350Z and put a small angle kit on it and go to town and hot lap the piss out of it.
So then again, bouncing a little bit all over the place, but how do you develop through like your 20s then? Obviously you went back to school.
Yep.
How does the car side of things develop at that point? I mean, how do you progress from the Supra at that point?
I didn't. That's all I had.
Okay.
So, I mean, I think, when did I get a daily driver? Probably way too late.
Oh, were you daily driving to Supra?
For a long time, yeah.
Really? Okay.
I have a history of daily driving really terrible stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a theme. I think I might have had a crappy 4Runner for a long time. And I say crappy because it's like one of the bad years. And then had an 886 that I daily drove for probably 2 years. No AC, no power steering, no nothing. And that thing was fun. But it was like just cosmetically too bad to like make it good again. So I sold that down the road. And then I finally got a Tahoe, with whatever credit score I had at the time, convinced somebody to give me a loan. I think I had to print off a fake pay stub because I was self-employed and they didn't think I had any employment. So I got a Tahoe and that was kind of like the do-all vehicle for a long time. Yeah, but the Supra was just always in the background. And like when I started the business, I kind of made that our showcase car a little bit because I had an ECU on it and it was single turbo and it made decent power. So I kind of campaigned that and paraded it. And then it's made appearances here and there.
And what time frame would that roughly be when like Tahoe time frame? Or when did you start the business, I suppose?
2014.
2014,
okay. The business, yeah.
So things start ramping up from there. And was this technically your first business then?
Yeah.
Okay.
I had a shop in my early 20s that I tried to run. And, apparently starting a business without money is not the best way to start a business. And that's kind of where that ended up. So I was doing like, some mechanical work and, didn't have a customer base and just didn't have any capital. So it was just ended up being kind of a play shop that just didn't work. So yeah, it was my first real attempt at a business. Yeah.
Okay. And then, so 2014-ish area. So how did things start to scale then? Before, I guess, did you start venturing in and adding these other things to distribute for at that point? Or is it just heads down just all ECU Master for a long time?
So I've always looked for other things to distribute, and it's only worked well a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
And so we tried, I went to Taiwan and visited a company that made gauges and a company that made like the throttle boosters.
Mm-hmm.
They made those, like kind of like Pedal Commander and all those type of products.
Sure, yeah.
But they made it before Pedal Commander did. I was worried about some licensing issues there because somebody had a trademark or patent on that technology. And then there's a brake company over there that did big brake kits. But, I kind of quickly realized like the best thing running was ECU Master for scaling that and putting all my energy into that. And then much later on when I had employees and I could focus some energy elsewhere, picked up Verkline and then Delta.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and those have done really well because they're complementary businesses, right?
Mm-hmm.
Delta is an easy add-on because an electronic anti-lock brake system is in the same vein as all the electronics that we do.
Kind of like these things that are just, all together. Like
right. The customer base, the Venn diagram's a circle for the people you're selling to, right?
Right.
It's a direct overlay.
I'm curious, actually, like when it comes to your customer base, is it mostly like, where do most people land? Is it drift community, drag racing, streetcar again?
Well, according to the EPA, no.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah.
I honestly, I don't think we're doing much of anything that ends up in a car anymore anyway. All the stuff's so old that's going to be just a dedicated track toy for most people. So, and that's where the side-by-side stuff has been kind of a big growth sector. We're seeing a lot of Restomod stuff, actually.
When you say Restomod, JDM side, American, both?
Mostly American because that clientele has a lot of money.
Right.
I think most Japanese car enthusiasts are not old enough yet to have blank check type builds.
They're like 10, 15 years behind, maybe.
Well, we talked about sound performance. They're doing a lot of like, subframe off restorations, but then again, those cars are modern enough. You don't need to do, our PMUs, power distribution, you don't need to do solid state power distribution in a street car on one of those, but something from the 50s or 60s doing PMUs and keypads and switch gear and all that, like doing that clean sheet electrical makes a lot more sense than something from the 90s. But we're seeing a lot of really high end Restomod stuff for a lot of the power distribution, dash displays. A lot of the direct injection stuff is going in pretty interesting, like higher end builds like that. Mm-hmm. So I think it's nice to see that as the product line matures, so does kind of the clientele and a lot of these things. Obviously the entry level stuff, we've got sub $1,000 standalone ECUs with a wideband controller, with a 4-bar map sensor, with an igniter on board. Like that still has huge value to the guy building something in his shed, right? They could make $12 an hour and still afford an ECU if he's living with his parents. But that's what I was as a kid, right?
Right. Can you explain to me, again, this is something that I don't understand very fully. Why is it that some ECUs, like they're known as you can't do DI, like they, for example, like Subarus, like it's either you're gonna do stock ECU or basically go full on Motec, for example. I never quite fully understood like why is that there's limitations for various ECUs. Are you able to elaborate on that at all?
Yeah, direct injection is a completely different animal.
Okay.
So port injection, you can get a lot wrong and it still works pretty well.
Okay.
With direct injection, not only is it's completely different hardware to drive the injectors, a very different voltage, and you're driving, it's several multiples of the voltage of a regular port injector.
Okay.
And then the actual pressure across the injector varies so much that if you don't have a very, very detailed, we'll call it just a roadmap of how much fuel is injected at every pressure and every pulse width, then you're going to be completely lost. And then also you're controlling the pump, which is you're varying pressure with the pump, and then you need to know what the injector does at every pressure and every pulse width.
Okay.
With port, you can be pretty wrong about a lot of that because your pressure doesn't vary, right? It's reference 1-to-1 with manifold pressure. So as you add boost, the pressure across the injector in a good port system should stay exactly the same. So your data only has to be kind of right at one point, and it could be wrong everywhere else, and that's fine. As long as you don't have a fuel pressure issue, you're not going to see it.
Okay.
And then DI, you have to be very tight about the windowing. There's just a lot more to it. And and you have to characterize everything in the system, meaning that instead of just reacting to things that happen, like, we're going to turn on O2 feedback and kind of unfuck everything that we did. With DI, you kind of have to be way ahead of that and have everything characterized beforehand and then trim it slightly afterward. Okay. So it's a lot more work.
I imagine it's also a little bit more expensive to make as well.
Yeah, there's a lot more hardware involved because you have, with our system, you have the separate DI driver. With some ECUs, they'll have a DI version and a port version. the guys at ECU Master chose to do just the same ECU, and you just add the DI driver that has the pump control and the high high pressure injector control.
Okay. So you're able to do both then.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, with the Pro 8 or Pro 16, you could do a split of port and DI on either one of those.
Okay.
With the 16, you could do 8 port, 8 DI. With the Pro 8, you could do, 8 DI only, or you could do 4 port, 4 DI. Mm-hmm. Our DI driver will do 8 injectors and 2 pumps on the gas side.
And then again, showing how little I know about this, but then you're able to do both as well. Cause like there's cars that use port and DI. Okay.
Yep. So you drive the port injectors straight off the EMU, and then the DI injectors will be driven off the DI driver.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. I've always had that question. I'm like, why is that a limitation? Like, isn't it all? Yeah.
Yeah. It's way different voltages, different control strategy, right? So you can't use one. You can kind of use. You can drive a DI or a port injector from the DI output, but then you get into like weird windowing events because the way they drive the injectors is slightly different. Mm-hmm. On top of just the voltage differences. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then we're doing diesel direct injection now, which is super cool.
Okay.
So that market is just bonkers, and I'm very new to it. So I'm not going to try to explain anything that I don't know about yet, because we're going to learn that after some of our customers educate us a little bit. But those will do 8 injectors and 3 pumps, because those guys, in fact, one of them I was talking to this week, he's one of the leaders in that world, makes injectors, and on, I think, just 6 injectors and 1 turbo, they did a 3,000 horsepower, and this is no nitrous, no propane, no like crazy adders. Like most of this is like triple compounds at that level or whatever, single turbo, nothing, like made 3,000 horsepower on the nose, which is just nuts to me.
Okay. What, do you mind me asking what platform? Or is
that was Cummins. Yeah.
Cummins? Okay. Yeah. I'm having a Cummins guy on Saturday. I'm going down to Unrivaled.
Okay.
Yeah. Somebody introduced me to him. I'm like, all right, let's talk about diesel. I'm kind of just throwing myself headfirst into stuff where I just have limitations on it. This I just want to learn about it,
Well, it was crazy to me because you showed me the video of the pull, and it revved to like 5,000 RPM, which for diesel, that's getting it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm excited to see. Again, at this point, I kind of like just kind of peeking through the curtains and seeing what people do with our stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So in the beginning, I think what I wanted to do was kind of push my car harder than most of our customers would to prove the platform and give them confidence in the product. At this point, so many other people have done way cooler stuff than I've ever done, that I can kind of sit back and just like enjoy seeing what people do with our products. And it's really fun to watch some of the crazy stuff out there.
Do you have an example of anything crazy that people have done with your product?
One of our dealers just did like a collaboration with Buell to build like a 350 or 450 horsepower, like kind of like tag team factory prototype effort, just like monster of a motorcycle. I think it was like 13 or 14,000 RPM. What else? We've got one of our dealers. He just showed me a video the other day of doing, it's like a 1 generation old NASCAR motor. And he was doing a bunch of per cylinder injector trims because everything was just wonky with the airflow. And so he was doing a lot of trims, but the thing was, I think he left it at like 9,000 plus RPM for a good long while, because it's being a land speed application. And they just wonder, and the thing is just happy all day long at that RPM because it's built for it. But it's just fun seeing just weird bespoke stuff that our products end up in.
What's the weirdest thing that you've seen your products in? Land speed's one of those, like, that's just crazy to me.
Land speed is cool. Yeah, I know that I've heard back from a lot of people that have done a lot of land speed stuff. That's such a niche market, right? There's just, by volume, there's not a ton of people, but the one he's doing is actually a pretty cool one. It's, I think, a Superbird chassis with like a modern V8 in it, and some, like, I think some state or government entity is sponsoring it. Is some like anniversary deal. I'm like, cool, like great use of our tax dollars, but I'm happy to see it. It's something cool. I'm glad he uses our stuff. What else? Back in the day, there was somebody in, I think, Poland or somewhere in Europe that had, I looked at the change notes for some firmware update, and it said, twin engine sync. I'm like, why are we synchronizing twin engines? And I asked Kuba about it, Jacob, who owns ECU Master. He's like, oh, it's for this Opel Calibra. And if you know what an Opel Calibra is, it's kind of a forgettable car. And they had...
You mind if I Google it real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't, because I don't know what a stock one looks like. I've only seen this like heavily modified. And so basically a shell draped over a couple of subframes at this point.
Okay.
Am I right that it's like a forgettable shitbox?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's like...
I don't know why. It reminds me of like Thunderbirds.
Or like a Mercury Cougar from the 90s, right?
Yeah, yep.
But some like forgettable, like front wheel drive hairdresser car, basically, right?
So then it's a twin engine setup in that?
So I was like, why do we synchronize 2 engines? He's like, oh, watch this. And I think the interior shot started with like, I'm looking at the shifter and it's like a cable shifter and I can see the cables bolted to it, but I'm like, yeah, there's 2 there, but why is there also 2 from this way? And it was 2 VR6 engines, one front, one rear, 2 sets of shifter cables to the same shifter. I guess he had a tandem master cylinder for 2 clutch masters. And it was, twin engine, made like, I don't know, 12 or 1400 horsepower because each engine only has to make 600 or 700 horsepower. Yeah. But he basically created a firmware that matched RPM in the front and rear engines to act as like a virtual center differential. So like if the front axle, which is going to have less traction if you're transferring weight, as soon as that started to light off the tires, it would limit RPM. So those didn't just go to the moon. So you could actually shift them both at the same time and not have them like wildly different RPM. Huh. But I was like, virtual center differential for a twin engine VR6 Opel Calibra probably goes on the short list of weird applications.
That's definitely weird. That's insane.
But they don't have any good drag strip. They have like basically their every drag event in Europe is like a no prep event because it's some airstrip that they've got licensed to use for a couple of hours.
They have like a handful out there from what it sounds like.
Right. So it's just some dude on like some hand-me-down slicks that just, is going to do everything he can to get some grip and apparently got down.
Dude, check this out. So there was a guy on the show I had at a PRI. He moved here from Austria. And he was telling me is like you're not even allowed to like install your change the tires on your car. Yeah. If the car came with 235s, it has to stay 235s, and it's like they actually inspect that. Yeah, insanity.
Oh, I would go. I'd have to leave.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's why he did. He moved here.
No, yeah, and there's just too many things that I want to do with a vehicle, and that I couldn't. But there's also stuff like the Stockholm Open. Have you seen any footage of that?
Is that the thing that Kyle Loftus goes to every year? Yeah, I've seen. Well, dude, that crazy. It's like a crazy like clown shoe car. Right. That thing is insane.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so like it's weird that in this vacuum of very government overreach heavy countries, there's also this group of outlaws that'll shut down a whole highway to get like a whole bracket run, not just like a couple of races, but a whole bracket run throughout the night. And they'll, it's some of the best street racing I think there is in the world. Mm-hmm. And those guys will all build drag cars for this. And I think Sweden actually has a lot more drag racing than most other European countries. I think they actually do have a couple of drag strips because I have a buddy who lives there who kind of grew up doing junior dragsters and some other stuff. But, there's still some outlaws out there at least, but some of those countries have zero.
Yeah, I think, and maybe I have a small amount of people in the UK to listen to the show percentage wise, but I think they only have one official drag strip in the entire UK.
Yeah, I believe it.
Something like that. Mm-hmm. Have you been to Poland then?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a bunch of times.
Okay. Well, yeah, I suppose. How often do you go there at this point?
I don't think I've been like just over a year, but usually yearly. Yeah.
Okay. And then what does that typically look like? Do you do mostly motorsport related stuff, ECU Master stuff?
Just ECU Master stuff. Yeah. Okay. So, if I have my way, I'll go in like late spring, early summer when, it's just stunning there. So ECU Master is based in Krakow, which is, the city centers is super charming. Like the old castle's up on the hill, beautiful city square. The weather's stunning at that time. A lot of their architecture was preserved through World War II because it didn't get bombed. Mm-hmm. Right. That, it got overtaken so quickly in the war that it really didn't suffer a lot of damage, except for Warsaw. Warsaw got leveled, but Krakow is still as it was. It's just a beautiful, charming city, much like Prague. Prague's a really beautiful city. Yeah, it's just gorgeous. I love being there. And then ECUMaster headquarters are now kind of on the outskirts of the city in like a development zone, kind of near the airport. They're trying to like put a lot of businesses out there and encourage them to grow. And their factory is just stunning. Very modern architecture. Brand new PCB assembly line, all in house. They just doubled their square footage. All the equipment's brand new, top notch. They've got, I think, 50 employees now. So pretty sizable operation at this point.
Yeah, it's been fun to talk to folks that are kind of in this industry, like, competitors, obviously, but like just kind of hearing like it all kind of comes from a similar background. So I'm sorry, his name was
Jacob.
Jacob, yeah. What was the last name? Kuba?
His nickname is Kuba. Every Polish person has a nickname and their real name.
Yeah.
So his real name is Jacob, but he goes by Kuba to most people.
Okay. So touch on that a little bit. I mean, you obviously know a little bit about the history of the company. How did the company get started back in the day?
So Jacob's first company was, he studied business at probably the best business school in Poland, but always learned and loved programming on his own. So programming was his hobby. But he studied business, which I think is an important differentiation because a lot of people end up with businesses and they don't know how to run them, right? They have their passion project and then they have to learn how to run a business. Thankfully, he had some training.
Mike, don't mind my limp dick Mike over here. Yeah, this is gonna be a tomorrow problem.
Right.
Every time I do upgrades on this setup, man, it likes to
gets
give me hell.
worse.
It's always like the weirdest thing. Like I was like, oh, something else will go horribly wrong.
It's always like the ratchet strap that's been failing for 4 years hangs on for 4 years.
Reliable.
It's like half gone,
Yeah.
and I get a brand new one, and it snaps the first strip out.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something to be said for something that half works still works halfway.
Yeah, no, this is again, this is gonna be me messing in the hotel. Just, it's always something.
Yeah, so his first business was a video game design company, and built it with a few of his friends. I don't know if they started friends. I think they're friends in college and started the company together. And then he just got really tired of the 100-hour weeks and the deadlines and pushing these projects across. And he sold his stake in the company. And I think he was just kind of on the beach for a bit, so to speak, that, he wanted to modify his car with his mechanic who now works for him. And he's like, yeah, I just need to modify a couple of signals, I think. And he's like, yeah, I can build something that would do that. So he built their first piggyback, which modified like the mass airflow signal and the map sensor signal and adjusted timing. And then later on started playing around and built the first standalone. And I think in his own words, I think he said, he really wanted to start a company with like 5 employees with just a couple of friends. And he's like, and somewhere I fucked up. Now he has like 50 employees, but he's still very much a racer. He's got what does he have now? He's got a really cool little race car. He raced minis for many years on track, but really loves circuit racing, competitive circuit racing. But yeah, so he's able to again work with a lot of people that were in that company with him. And then a lot of the guys he's got working for him are like, Polish kart champions and Formula SAE guys and really brilliant, programmers and engineers and researchers. And he's just got really, really neat people that are very passionate about automotive stuff.
Isn't Poland where they make a ton of like carbon Kevlar sort of like drift kits too? Or I might be making something mixed up or whatever.
I don't know. I mean, there's a few different companies in Europe that make them.
Yeah, there's like this crazy car that Mick Schumacher had. It was like I don't know if you ever saw the video of it. It's like this like E92 like M3. Was it E92?
Was it a Eurofighter?
Yes. Are they based out of there?
That's HGK if I remember correctly, and they're not in Poland. I've forgotten where they are. Yeah.
Okay, I'm getting things confused there, but
M Sport is in Poland. They do a lot of really beautiful rally car builds.
Okay.
And they're they're what airport are they near? But basically you land in one of the airports and like you can see they're like parallel to the airstrip. I'm like, oh, that's where rally cars come from.
Yeah. Isn't that where they made like the Nitro Cross cars?
I'm not sure.
I don't know. I'm going to have to look that up. Yeah. Cause there's like a ton of ralliers that come out of that part of the world.
There are. Yeah. There's a bunch of rally. And then obviously they had Kubica, who was really, they really had high hopes for him in F1, and he didn't, his career kind of got cut short, but I think he still does a ton of rally. I think it was a rallying accident that put him out of
That's right.
season.
Yep. Yeah.
But yeah, they're very, very passionate people there. There's a lot of just like grassroots motorsports enthusiasm. But yeah, it's a really neat place to be. I got to go to a kind of a grassroots like hill climb event there.
Oh, cool.
One year when I went to make a trip over, and this is like beautiful, like Polish countryside. I'm like, this looks like it's from a postcard, like these little cottages and this twisting road through these like green fields. And they just asked the farmers nicely if they could close down the road for the day, I guess. And
so cool.
They did like, and I'm like, how we party here, like, anywhere in the country, there's some formation or some variant of a redneck who brings their big cooler and their folding chairs. And this one, it was like that, except everybody just brings a bottle of vodka and they just split it between friends. They just like hand around takes. It's a lot easier to carry. I don't know why we're not doing that.
I don't know why we're doing 24 packs over
correct.
here.
Oh, their vodka's good.
Just pass one bottle around.
That's what they do. And so it's kind of cold out. So you just see like a group of friends, somebody pulls their hands out of their pockets and passes the bottle. But we're watching this hill climb and they do like, a couple of like nice kind of road going GT cars will go up in a group and make a quick little pass up, and then have some drifters do a couple of tandem passes up the hill. And I'm like, this is a pretty cool little, just like local grassroots style event. But I think that there's a lot of enthusiasm and passion there. And there's certainly rallying. Like we have terrible roads in Texas for anything fun, right? If we had twisty fun roads, we'd probably have more rallying in the US. Some places do, but
no, that's true. I mean, like most of this country's flat.
Yeah.
I mean, you go out to like Nashville and like, or not Nashville, Tennessee as a whole, or like Kentucky, like, that's where they're doing a bunch of these like rally events stateside.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. But yeah, this middle part of the country is just all flat.
Yeah. Like, I'm jealous of friends like, oh, this is my canyon car. I'm like, well, screw you, dude. I don't have any canyons. I got like dumb Texas roads. I have like some of the best cornering cars in existence, and I get to go straight on my commute to work with them.
That's the other thing you mentioned earlier, the track membership, whatever. What's your home track when you do circuit racing?
Yeah, Eagles Canyon.
Eagles Canyon, okay.
Yeah, so I grew up in Denton, Texas. So we're in Garland, which is on the border of Dallas. So Denton is the top part of the triangle. Dallas is the southeast portion of that. And then Fort Worth is on the west side. Yep. So Denton, Dallas, and Fort Worth make a triangle. And then just north of Denton is Decatur.
Okay. Do you ever make it out to Coda then?
I actually haven't. I probably should this year because it's going to be closed down for private use. But I've driven like a parade lap in a drift car on Coda, and I behaved very well.
Did you?
I shouldn't have. But I've driven like at Time Attack. We'll do like drifting is kind of a little like in one of the side lots. They'll have drift ride along. So I've done that. But I got to make one parade lap. But I haven't raced that track. But unfortunately, that's probably going to go away for us privateers.
Yeah, just because it's kind of getting just outrageously expensive or private, or
they're going to make it a private club, I guess, and so it's not going to be open to the public. So we'll see what happens next year.
Yeah, I'm curious on like how those private clubs work because like isn't it like also like a $250,000 a year membership sort of deal, or
who knows? I mean, Eagles Canyon, it's not inexpensive, but it's accessible to people that can justify using it a lot, right? Mm-hmm. But it's a beautiful facility. Toyota's put a bunch of money there into sponsorship because their corporate headquarters now in the area, so they use it a lot for events.
Oh, really?
And corporate stuff. Yeah. Huh. So yeah, all the the track cars. They have a couple of Supras there and a couple of Toyota products out there to do corporate training and events and stuff. So they've got a partnership with Toyota. So I think that's helped too. That they can invest more in facilities. They also have off-road courses, so you can actually do short track side-by-side racing, which is, oh my God, that is a riot.
I'm guessing you've done it quite a few times.
I got to ride shotgun with one of the Miller brothers, and they're kind of on the podium for anything side-by-side related.
Okay. And
so you think a normal side-by-side, but lowered, wider on, grooved Hoosiers on a prep dirt surface, and a mixture of the physics of like off-road racing and jumps and drifting and circuit racing, like all the above. So you basically jump something and then pitch it sideways, and you have an incredible amount of grip on the dirt. And yeah, it's a ton of fun.
Yeah, I might have to look into that a little bit. I'm kind of at this weird point in the show. I'm about to cross 200 episodes here soon. So I'm just kind of like thinking like just expanding my horizons. I'm like, that sounds like something cool I'd like to get into, like just look into.
I said, hey, look, like, don't be shy. Like I don't want you to wear out your equipment, but I'm very comfortable in a race car. So do whatever you want to do. Like if you want to go have a good time. And so as I'm getting out, I was like, let me guess, like 7-ish tenths. He's like, yeah, about that. So like, I don't know what 10 tenths feels like. Cause I felt like that was pretty aggressive.
I had another question, but I'm going to lead with this. What's the craziest thing that you've done driving wise and what experience wise, whether it's drifting, drag racing, circuit?
I'd say probably just like jumping into wheel-to-wheel racing, like a Lemons race with a very, nobody has there's actually a few guys that have well-prepared cars and they're just lapping everybody. But, without a lot of training or here's what to do, here's what not to do, just jump into a wheel-to-wheel format. That was pretty wild. Was that be
24 hours Lemons or no? Did you have like a team of guys and you share a car? Okay.
Yeah. And that was in my mid 20s before I went back to engineering school. And basically a guy whose car I'd worked on, he said, hey, I'll buy the parts if you put in the labor. I said, deal, easy win. So we put together actually an 87 Supra. We put a GE VVTi 2J in it. And the car was kind of terrible, but it was fun. But yeah, it was a great time. I got to drive Texas World Speedway before it closed down. And one of my buddies negotiated. He's like, hey, like whatever happens, I want the sunrise stint. He's like, I just want to see the sun come up in a race car, like bucket list thing. I was like, damn, I should have called that one. Mm-hmm. But I was in the dark and we had good lights, and there was a turn at Texas World Speedway where I hadn't memorized the track layout. And also at 3 a.m. when you're exhausted, like nothing makes sense. And so I kind of like turned too early and shortcut one of the corners. I just remember kind of like getting airborne a little over the dirt and then seeing 3 more cars behind me just go thum, thum, thum.
They just followed you?
I had the good lights. Yeah. So, like nobody's going to try to pass you and be blinded by you for X number of laps, right? No. So it's way easier just to be behind the guy who's like mediocre fast and just use his lights than it is to do anything else. So,
do most people not even have lights?
They had lights, they just weren't good, right?
Oh, yeah.
You're going so fast in the dark and we're all tired and like we're outside of College Station, which is where A&M is, right? So we're out in the country. So like there's no light. Right. And the track lights probably weren't much, and they weren't on the infield. They might've been some on the oval, but yeah, that was an experience. And then I will say this, like probably the first time I like grabbed fourth gear in a drift car before entering, I was like, this is like, we're committed now. Like you can't like tuck tail and break at that point. Like you're just committed.
Where was that and what car was it?
That might have been, depending on the car, that would have been like, maybe Texas Motor Speedway on the infield. You basically have like an 1/8 mile drag, like run up before the entry. Mm-hmm. And so that was pretty eye-opening for how long you can be, because you can always sneak up on it and just start accelerating later, or like get to the top of third and kind of hang out and then enter. But when you start using all the track drifting and all the room to accelerate, like stuff gets wild pretty quickly. And then to level up from that, doing that next to another car is nuts.
What car were you in when you did that?
That was my 350Z. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
You might have to have been moving at that point.
Yeah. And even if you're not, it still feels like it.
Yeah.
Right. Just to go, but to be able to confidently throw your car sideways at 80, 90 miles an hour and just know that it's going to work out, like that's pretty fun to sneak up to that.
I just started, so I have a sim and I've always been doing iRacing, right? Yeah. But now I just got myself set up on a Seto course. I've done it twice. I'm trying to do get into drifting a little bit. Hard. I have respect for it. I didn't realize like how difficult it was.
And but it's way more difficult in the sim.
In the sim than in real life?
100%.
Oh, I'm sure. Like when I used to, like, again, who hasn't gone to a party? Well, we're from the north, right? So like we have snow. We just go drifting in parking lots every winter, right? Right. So I definitely, in real life I had no problems holding an angle and all that. But it'd be different if I also had I've never have done it like a 350 or 370Z, right? So it's like bucket list items eventually.
No, you should. And I think, I hope that at least a few people, if they take nothing away from this podcast, go find your local drift school, spend $2,000 or $2,500 and do a 2-day course. They'll provide you probably a 350Z or 370Z and the tires and the instruction. Just go do it. Don't build a car. Don't do anything. Just show up and get good instruction and learn how to drift.
Oh, this is a good plug. I've had somebody on the show before. I think it's driftmaps.com. I think it goes .com. And they I don't know if you've heard of them, but they basically have they'll post every drift event in the country, including clinics and stuff too. So yeah, maybe I should check out one of those things down the line.
Yeah. And there's difference. Clinics are good, but if you don't have a car, a clinic doesn't do you any good.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
So there's,
so you mean like an actual school where they provide you everything?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. There's one here in Texas. Josh, what's his last name? He's got a bunch of 350Zs. I think it's called The Drift School, but he's in South Texas somewhere.
Interesting.
And then I'm going to blank on a lot of friends. My buddy Ian, he's got one in Colorado. And then Chris, he's got one at E-Town. So yeah, I mean, there are several at different points in the country, but really the money compared to any other racing school is not much. And I think that drifting, in terms of teaching you car control, it doesn't teach you any bad habits. It's just going to put more tools in your toolbox, and it's a ton of fun.
I'll add that to the bucket list too.
Yeah, but some of the most talented drivers I know, period, grew up on drift cars, but they can transfer it to other disciplines very easily because they have all the car control pretty nailed.
Well, it's kind of like if you look at like Formula One, like some of the best drivers came from like those like rally countries.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, just because Nordic countries where they're just used to driving on ice.
If you've never seen a dry road, you're going to be a really good driver. No, but it's no surprise that like some of the most dominant drivers and I think James Dean, most people would argue, is probably the best drifter in the world right now. He's from Ireland. They don't have a lot of dry roads for a lot of the year. And then like a lot of the most dominant drifters in the world are from Ireland right now.
Tuning, because you got, that was a question I wanted to ask you earlier. So you got the main line here.
Yep.
Who does the tuning here?
So I used to do some, I don't really anymore. Like I can tune a car. I just don't like it. Is that bad to say?
Well, no, it's fair to say. Why? Everybody falls into one camp. Everybody hates something.
And, my granddad, when I was in engineering school, I really loved thermodynamics and combustion, and I really love. I have a very good theoretical understanding of it. I don't really love sitting on a dyno all day. What I love now, and the part I get the most gratification out of the business, is hiring really good people and learning how to be a good manager to them and let them do what their strengths are, and try to give them the tools they need. And it's really fun to give talented people a fun subject to run with. And like, luckily it's pretty exciting subject material. Mm-hmm. So, when I get like a brand new side-by-side and say, hey, it's got 0 miles on it, go reverse engineer it, make a plug and play adapter and put a standalone on it.
That sounds like such a cool job sometimes.
It is. It is. It's like, I don't want to sit there and reverse engineer CAN bus messages all day.
Yeah.
And that's, I've not spent enough time learning CAN bus as I probably should, but I can tune stuff, but I'm not as good as somebody who does it every day. So really Chris, who works for me, Chris Robertson, he's the one who does all the dyno work and development, and he's, super methodical, and he'll baseline everything and take as many measurements as he can on a stock car. But if I hand him something that's a built motor and an aftermarket turbo and a different set of cams, like you don't have any playbook, you're not copying, you're reverse engineering or, validating the stock programming on that. You're starting, and he does great with that too, but he knows how picky I am with cold start and tip in and drivability that, he's going to hear about it. And, what was it the other day? Oh, it was one of my employees had like a, something that doesn't have our ECU in it. It was like a, flash tuned stock ECU and something, and it cold started really poorly. And Chris walks out of his office. He's like, "What is that?" I was like, "Oh, it's so-and-so." He's like, "Oh, thank God. I was going to hear about that." But you can tell when a car drives nice and when it doesn't. And the things that some people will tolerate as just, it's just a tuned car. Like, no, it should drive really, really well. We have so many tools at our disposal now with drive-by-wire, with variable cams, with good injector data, with good fuels. Like, you don't have to suffer in fast cars anymore, like flat out.
That was one of the things. So in my previous car, I had a Mark 7 GTI, and I used to have an off-the-shelf tune on that because, whatever, just classic stage 2, whatever stuff. And then I got a custom tune done. It was just really fun to work with the tuner at Ratified Motorsport, which is where about 50 episodes of this podcast were done out of their shop. So it's kind of cool. But I got to, learn a lot from their tuner there and just kind of get an under appreciation for all this stuff that people kind of forget. But yeah, it's classic. Every single Facebook forum, it's like, oh yeah, that's just race car stuff. That's the big excuse.
And where were we? It was many, many years ago. And someone goes like, yeah, it just starts on the third try. I'm like, no. It should start on the first attempt. And hopefully after just a couple of revolutions, if that. Like, I was like, let me take a peek. And, just needed more cranking fuel or something dumb. He's like, oh God. I was like, yeah, this is how cool it is that we don't have to take apart a carburetor or twist a screwdriver. Like, we can look at a data log and, try an A/B test with changing 0 mechanical parts. Like, we're pretty spoiled with what we can do with a laptop these days. And now we've come full circle and people are trying to actively ruin it with ghost cam tunes and making it actively misfire and this and that. Or let me make it pop and burble.
It's funny. I've had only a very small handful of folks on the show that were tuning, from the carburetor days and made that transition. Like when they were doing it as a job then and then on to, it's
the same stuff.
But it's like being like, oh yeah, why is that guy got a laptop in his car? I imagine that probably happened before you probably got into cars, didn't? When the transition to having a laptop in your car to tune? Yeah,
because I grew up on alphabet soup with the Super Days.
Okay.
It'd be like an Apexi SAFC on top of an HKS VPC GCC.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to pretend I know what that means.
Yeah, no, that's why it was called alphabet soup, right? Okay. So we're taking the VPC vane pressure converter, I think is what HKS called it, which basically took away your mass airflow meter and made it speed density.
Okay.
And so all the big turbo guys, you go single turbo, you get rid of the mass airflow meter, right? Mm-hmm. And then the GCC was their tuning computer that went with the VPC. And then, but everybody just put it in an AFC from Apexi because you had the little wheel and the blue screen that looked like almost like the Dolphin display on the Pioneer head units. Mm-hmm. And then, I just basically stacked piggybacks on piggybacks. And somehow, God, I remember one buddy's car, we went to the Texas Mile and he got kicked out because he did it in flip-flops. But this is when ethanol was available at the pump, but we didn't have really a lot of ECUs that could do flex fuel. And we didn't have ethanol content sensors, I think, really. Maybe a couple people had, but he basically had a wideband and a VPC, AFC, GCC combo. So you'd actually have to retune his car to start it and then immediately change back to the settings to make it safe while it was making boost. So every time he restarted the car, refueled it, we had to retune it. And then he got kicked out for having flip-flops. And I think that was a year that maybe SW, he blew his car up or Tommy Bond blew his car up. And then he took their sticker and put it on his car so he could go run one more time and then got kicked out for real. That's crazy. But I think I want to say he went something stupid, 180 or 190 something on the piggyback alphabet soup. And we just didn't know any better. Mm-hmm. We didn't know that was absolutely probably not the right way to do anything. And we just kind of got away with murder on stock ECU stuff back then.
That's another event that's not around anymore, right? Texas Mile? Or is it?
No, it's still around. It's just terrifying to me. Everything's so fast. I don't even want to really do a half-mile event with the speeds these cars can do.
Oh, it's insane. Like you look at like UGR and they're doing, what did they do last year? 260 something, I think, in a half mile.
Zero interest in that. Zero.
Yeah, that's insanity to me.
Like, are there any tires, like racing tires, that have actually been validated at that speed?
That's a good question.
But that's like, I know with, like with the Viper, like the ACR, like think about, so the aerodynamics, it's, almost exponential the way the load goes up.
Yeah. All that load on the rear tire. Yeah.
Like, was that wing ever meant to do 220, 230? Like, is it just going to like break through and crush the car? And then what happens to the dynamics of the car if that falls off?
And God forbid you get one of those. Well, actually, no, you're in the Viper forums. God forbid you get a knockoff wing.
So I've made probably a few enemies just because I'm pretty outspoken against people cutting up perfectly good Vipers.
Uh-oh.
And it's not, and my beef isn't actually that they're like stealing the thunder of the ACRs. I think ACRs are special. I own one. And I think they're neat. Like, I don't really have a big problem with somebody cloning something, but you're cutting holes in that front clamshell to put vents in the car that weren't supposed to be there on that car. You're drilling holes in the carbon rear trunk lid to put a wing on it. And you can't go back. You can't patch carbon fiber. And they've done
it. Is the rear trunk lid carbon?
Yeah.
Is it on the GTSs as well?
Nope. Carbon on everything.
Okay.
They're all carbon.
Okay.
And then, but I take a little excitement. Granted, it's not my car.
So you got blocked by him, didn't you?
I don't know if I did, but like, I'm pretty outspoken. Like, they're not validated parts either. Like this, OEM parts are at least OEM parts, right?
Yeah.
But I just don't like putting holes in, and they did it to a couple of really special colors too. Colors that there's only like 30 or 40 of, maybe even less. I'm like, don't put holes in like the special color. Go find a black base model and like put holes in it all day long. I don't care. Right. But still, like, yeah, it's just like every Gen 3 Viper seems to have an extruded aluminum wing on the back of it too. Everybody thought they needed holes in them.
Again, I'm not gonna yuck anyone's yum, but like, for example, like that one, I'm sure you're in the forum, you saw the color shifting Gen 3, and they threw like an APR wing. It was like the convertible Gen 3, but then they threw like, and
that's the whole playbook for Gen 3.
Yeah. And I'm just like, it's like a 1200 horsepower Viper, or I think it's like a Mutt, if I remember correctly. It had like a UGR kit, but then it was tuned by Nth Moto or something like that. Anyways, point being, I'm just sitting here thinking, like, what's going to happen when that like wing, that APR wing that you threw in the back of that car, and you're doing like insane speeds? Like, what's that going to turn into? That car was never designed to do that.
Imagine the public outrage if Sydney Sweeney got fake boobs.
That's a crazy take.
But I think that the Gen 5 Viper stands on its own merit. Like, if anything, like I like adding the TA 1.0 aero. That's just a carbon lip spoiler. And
it's classy.
The two carbon front. It's tasteful.
Yeah.
It's a little different. It adds a little contrast, but it's it's OEM plus. Literally OEM plus. I think that adds something to the car, and you don't have to put holes in the car to do it. Like, worst case, you put some holes in the underside of the bumper. Who cares, right?
Right.
You can get another bumper cover, but I think that's tasteful. But the car stands on its own merit. It's one of the prettier cars made, I think, personally.
Oh, 100. Yeah. The GTS, like, for example, my brother was talking to you about this before the show, but like we have there's a black GTS in my dad's dealership, and it's like, it really is a really nice car. If you took off the white vinyl stripes and just a black GTS, just looks sharp.
No, I'm going to start a new business and call it Gilded Lilies.
Okay.
And I'm just going to have you ever heard the phrase gilding the lily?
I don't know if I have.
It must have been Shakespeare, because he came up with, I think,
well, I don't know what made you think I was a Shakespeare reader.
Yeah, right. So basically, like, a lily, pretty flower, right? Gilding it would be covering it in gold.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But it's adding something that's already inherently beautiful. But I want to start like an automotive enhancing shop and sell accessories only for stuff that's already good, and call it Gilded Lilies, and just sell people like Mansory kits for everything.
Oh God, Mansory, that's
I'm just going to do tacky shit for expensive vehicles, and I'm probably going to get rich doing it.
You probably will.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Mansory has like a really cool car, like 1 in 15, 1 in 20 cars. I'll be like, all right, fair enough.
Yeah.
But then there's some, like, I don't know if you ever remember the MC20 kit. This is the one that broke me. It was, it had like a double diffuser. So you had a diffuser and you had another diffuser under it. And it was just like, this podcast has broken me. Like, I started talking to a lot of people that do stuff for a function.
Yeah.
Like, I really, no offense to anybody that's just into the show car stuff. It's just like wheels and coilovers. And then, all right, where's the conversation go? Right.
Yeah.
Like, so I have an appreciation for functional stuff, and that just broke me.
You know what's funny is that I've hated show car stuff for so long, and not all of it. I think the very high level, like people trying for America's Most Beautiful Roadster, or what's the other ones where they do the top 8 and people try to get, there's a Riddler. But these people they'll spend millions of dollars building a one-off custom car. Every panel is hand beaten. They're never going to see public roads, unfortunately, but they're stunning. And I love the craftsmanship. That's the kind of show stuff that I've loved historically. But are you familiar with Ultrace? It's in Poland.
What's it called?
It's a car event called Ultrace. Like you combine like the words ultra and race.
You're probably going to need to ship your car soon, or know somebody that will. And as someone who used to work in freight logistics, I understand the difficulties of finding reliable transport, especially when trying to make it to rallies, racetracks, or to warehouse to hide your Corvette, because you're going through a messy divorce, and when she says everything, she means everything. Anywho, Nick Shearer is the proud owner of Sure Thing Logistics. Having traveled much of the country with every type of vehicle you can imagine, he's got the experience and reliability that you want to ensure a safe journey for your pride and joy. If you want to find out what it takes to ship your vehicle, go to surethlinglogistics.net, fill out the intake form, and be sure to let him know I sent you. Let's get back to the show.
So I have not been in person. I need to go, but some of the show cars they have there are, very tasteful because it'll be stock body, but really aggressive, beautiful wheel combination. Not just stanced out in a ton of camber, but like just really tastefully done stuff, just beautifully restored with tasteful modifications. Some of it's a little wilder, but it's such a cool event because I kind of hate that a lot of the water-cooled Volkswagen guys have kind of ruined car shows for me, period. and I think we've probably seen some of that. Most people would agree, but it's really cool because it's this, even the teaser video, I think they spent like 80,000 euros just on the production of their like teaser video to like sell tickets in advance. And you should watch the video.
Okay.
Yeah. But they got, what was it? I think a Bugatti EB110.
Oh, okay.
And that was the hero car in the teaser, but then they used digital editing to clone it to where it looked like every car in the parking lot, the employee parking lot, everybody had an EB110. And it was convincingly done. And they had like all these action shots of the car, like a car that nobody gets access to. But anyway, pretty cool stuff. But yeah, I need to go to that event one of these years because I've had a couple of friends go there and they sold like, 50 grand in t-shirts over the weekend. And they would have sold more had they had more people to help run card scanners to sell more t-shirts. But
it's crazy how many t-shirts Peter sells at Texas 2K, by the way. That's such an insane amount of shirts.
Well, I wonder if he sells more than Kyle does. 1320.
Dude, every year, so my go-to stops at this point. That's a good question. Who I go? I think T1 and AMS. I like to swing by. AMS has always had historically really good merch. For the last 3 or 4 years, always leave us some AMS merch, whatever. 1320 is another one that I stop at. But I'd be curious. I feel like everybody wants a Texas 2K shirt. Everybody texts me every year. It's like, hey, can you stop at a tent? I'm like, dude, I don't even know if I'll be able to stop for me.
No, I'm not running errands for you and waiting in a line.
I know. I hate to be that dick, but it's like, dude, like I'm already like, I'm here for such a limited time. Right. Yeah. I don't want to go wait in line. I'm going to go there, sneak in, get out,
I'm sure you can just buy it from their website too.
I think there's some stuff you can and you can't. I don't know. Whatever. I think the 1320 stuff, you can buy. Yeah. 1320, absolutely. Just get on the website. But no, it's cool. I love the vibe of Texas 2K. I almost didn't come this year, but I knew I would regret it if I didn't. So do you head to the track first thing in the morning then?
Yeah, I'll be there. I think the spectator gates open at 10.
Okay.
So we'll be set up and ready to go around then. No, but I want to say I've been attending TX2K since 2003.
Yeah. What was the first year?
2000.
Was it 2000?
Yeah, it was TX2K, right?
Right, because he was like, I was doing a little bit of... Actually, I wasn't going to say, I'm not going to say I was doing reading. I saw a video about it, like how it started. Like, he was trying to
just Supras at first.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was like small enough that we didn't have like a group dinner. And we did like a scenic drive and then we had like the little dyno day. And then the drag strip was open and everybody ran like, 12s in 800 horsepower cars. But there weren't that many 800 horsepower cars back then, right? Like, I think I knew like one person with the standalone in 2002.
What was it, AEM back then or something?
V1. Yeah. I might have known one person that had like an electromotive. Okay. This is throwing it way back. But yeah, I remember the earliest years would be like the Best Western, whatever hotel faced it. And so there's two like facing hotels. There were the two host hotels and one had a better breakfast. So we'd all stay in either one, but we'd all end up in breakfast in the one hotel instead of the other. People would like, who was it? One of the guys would wheeled in like his drag radials and like his big 5-gallon drums of toluene he got from Sherwin-Williams into the hotel and the dumbwaiter into his room. But yeah, it was just kind of the Wild West. And then it became Supras and Vipers, then later Supras and GTRs. Then it was at Hennessy for a long time. And then it was in San Antonio one year. Like, anyway, it's been a whole long saga. And then it became just like kind of the World Series of fast street cars.
Yeah.
It evolved into that over time. But yeah, but it was very like small community. It was just, one model community for a long time. And, I still see some of the people there that I saw those first couple of years.
I wonder, do you think that's why? So every Viper owner I've talked to has a serious appreciation for 2J cars.
Yeah.
You think that might
Most of
come
us
from
owned
that?
them.
Okay.
But I think maybe you've dealt with a lot of Viper owners who own them for the right reasons.
Yeah, true.
Not that there's a wrong reason to own a car, but I think if you're like a performance oriented enthusiast, you're a little more platform agnostic and you're not going to like die on like all of my cars are pieces of shit. Every single one of them.
Actually, well, let me ask you, does your Viper have the door problem where the door won't latch, or have you not run into that?
Shh, don't tell it that's a thing.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't know it exists. No, currently the trunk release button is not working.
Okay, so there's something.
So I have to use the remote. But yeah, but every car has things that are terrible about it.
Yeah.
And there's no hill I'm going to die on to defend any car from anyone. Like, all right, yeah, they're all pieces of shit, right?
You're so few far in between in that, though. Most people just pick a camp and they stick with it.
Yeah. Well, I have an FDR7. Like, oh, those rotaries are real and real. I'm like, yeah, and?
So it is a rotary still.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's like a ported V-mount single turbo rotary. Like, it's not stock, but
So making like what, 350-ish?
that's it. It's exactly at 350 right now, and I kind of don't want to turn it up because it's so fun at that power level. But
They are so cool.
and they're quirky, but like I like quirky cars, right? This is why I own several, because not one car. I'm so far past. And again, when I was younger, I wanted to make my Supra the perfect car. And then once I got over that, cars got a lot more fun. That now it's like, cool, this car's good at this. This one has an amazing shifter feel. This one, the steering weight is just perfect. This
What
one,
car's got the best shifting feel? I'm curious.
probably a tie between an NA Miata
Okay.
and the FD is really, really good. I don't know if the shifter is stock. It might be, but I think a lot of it has to do with the fact they have a power plant frame.
Okay.
And so the transmission, the back of the transmission is tied to a big brace that connects the differential. It's like a big like truss that connects the engine, transmission, and the differential all together. So the whole drivetrain can't rock a whole bunch. And I think that makes it feel a little more precise because you don't get as much left to right play or fore aft play in the shifter as the drivetrain bounces, unloads, moves up and down. But also Mazda just nailed it with the NA Miata. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like, you're not really a true automotive enthusiast unless you can drive one. And it might not be your favorite thing in the world, but you can appreciate how brilliant that car is.
I made a post on Facebook a few weeks ago. It's like, there's nobody that you just can't hate on a Miata.
No.
Yeah, unless like one guy commented like, "Oh, I'm too big to fit," and I'm like, "What?" Yeah,
That's a fair complaint.
It is.
That's a fair
but
complaint.
it's like for the sake of like a track car, just having a good time. Like
Yeah.
I'm 6'4", I probably wouldn't be able to fit in it comfortably.
Right.
But like throw me like a seat lowering kit or something, it becomes a lot more reasonable. Like Vipers, I can't fit in them comfortably without like I can drive one. But if I wanted to put a helmet on, I would need a seat lowering
I've
kit.
got a Recaro Podium in mine on fixed mounts. Like,
Okay.
you'd probably be better off in that one.
Yeah.
But no, the ergonomics of a Viper, like, they're really hard to get in and out of. You feel like you're driving something. I don't know what. I'm kind of a spaceship. Your ass is on the diff, and you've got a long ass crankshaft and nose ahead of you. Like, it's kind of weird in every dimension. Like, once you're comfortable with it, you're comfortable with it. But no, I won't defend any of my cars beyond they all have quirks, but that's what makes them fun. Like, and I had this conversation with a friend the other day. I said, I think the reason I'm not really in love with Porsches is that they're kind of really good at a lot of things. Like, there's nothing that's quirky enough for me
They're
to
too
find
perfect.
them endearing.
Yeah, they're too perfect. You can't like. There's something about like I don't know what it is. Like just that. I don't know how to say this without sound like a dickhead. But like the super pretty girl, but has like that weird like mole in the one place or whatever. Like it's like kind of like that one little like feature, like defining feature, right?
Like Sydney Sweeney if she had fake boobs.
I don't know if that's a defining feature. You'd have to talk to her plastic surgeon to know that detail. But no, like just some defining feature. Like for example, like it's like when I look at like Instagram like highlights of like certain podcasts or whatever, it's like some like I'm the guy with the glasses or I'm the tall guy or whatever. Like that defining feature. Like same thing applies to cars. What defines a Porsche? Oh, it's so perfect.
Yeah, I mean the engine hanging over the back axle, but I think their best cars are the ones where the engine's like ahead of or on top of the back axle, right? I think a lot of people generally agree like the GT4 RS is probably like one of the best Porsches made, if not the best. Mm-hmm. And it's it's insulting to a GT3 RS owner, but also the GT3 RS is special in its own right. But no, but I will say this: I've not driven a front wheel drive car on a road course that was set up for road course racing. I think I would enjoy that if I could two pedal it and make it rotate and do certain things, right?
Oh, a front wheel drive car?
Yeah, I think rotating a car is what the fun factor is, and hence the drifting. But I had a GR Corolla, and it was good in a lot of ways, but it was very understeery on track. I think if it had way more rear bar, I drove a GR Yaris in Poland, ton of fun. That car was great. And
Those things are insane right now too. Like what they're doing in Australia with them.
Yeah.
Insanity.
Yeah, but it was a great car because it would rotate, right? It had a short enough wheelbase, enough rear bar and spring rate that like you could get it to steer a little bit. Otherwise, I think all-wheel drive's probably not for me in terms of we'll see. I have an R32 GTR that's been in pieces since I bought it. I bought it in pieces and I've never done anything with it. We'll see if I like it when it's done.
They'll just send it to Whistling Diesel. He'll take care of it.
Right? Oh God. Yeah, he'll definitely
crazy video.
He'll sort it out.
Yeah. What made you go the mainline route, by the way?
So Tony from T1.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He had a phenomenal experience with him, and he's somebody I can trust to be a straight shooter. He's not always the most chatty individual. If you've ever talked with him, he's
not yet. No.
Yeah, he's not. He doesn't waste a lot of words. But I can take him at face value if he really likes something. But it was not just him. I talked to a few people, and then there are other competing dynos, but not anybody that personality wise I really want to do business with. And the product speaks for itself. It's very repeatable, very configurable. We've actually got their new, the CCS upgrades, like an all new control system we need to put in it because ours was, a couple of years before that. But just a really high quality product. Their support is, at the drop of a hat to help you out and get whatever you need done. I think what really sold me is that, Tony, I think was prepping for a TX2K and he had maybe a prototype version of a very high power dyno that they just come out with and something broke. Somebody got on a plane from Australia, flew the part over, fixed his dyno so he could get all the cars tuned leading up to TX2K. I'm like, okay,
that's customer service.
That speaks volumes about the kind of people that are involved in this company. And if I want to have a tool that I rely on to operate my business on, that's the kind of people I want to do business with.
That's crazy. Like I get pissed off having to respond to an email sometimes. Like you're telling me to fly across the world. That's
not an easy flight. That's a terrible flight.
It's miserable. Yeah. Like I saw in Australia, it was the biggest plane I've seen in my adult life. It was like it was like one of those like going to Australia planes. And I'm like, man, what's that from here? It's probably 16-hour flight, 18.
I mean, yeah,
something stupid.
It's terrible.
And to fly with a car apart, man, that respect. That's crazy.
No, but they're super good dudes over there. And then, it's a reliable tool and it's done well. And I think that's why you see them at so many of the very highest end shops is because word travels fast. Everybody talks at the pointy end of the stick. Everybody knows each other. And that's kind of, I think the tool that a lot of us have agreed on.
Mm-hmm. So when did you start? Did you import all these yourself then? Or
No, I've never imported a car, but in fact, a lot of them just came from the same friend.
Okay.
So Aaron Losey, who runs Lone Star Drift, he and I have an unspoken agreement that's when he needs cash and he has extra cars, I'm usually the sucker he can rely on. So that's been a couple of, when I bought the one that's behind you or to your left, that one was like a stock automatic 1J, bad paint, nothing special about the car, little beat up. And then now it's a 3.4 ported head, 264 cam, VVTi, 64, 66 turbo with a T56 Magnum and like pretty ignorant drivetrain. It's a great combo, like big motor, small turbo, very responsive. And I built it thinking I was going to drift it. And I'm like, oh, this is a little too nice. Like, because I can't get like door skins or doors or quarter panels for that car stateside. It's not even a chaser. It's a Mark II. So they're a little less common. Same platform, but different sheet metal. So I just kind of like, that's just a dumb, fun street car at this point because it's a little too nice for drifting.
Just 3D print everything nowadays, man.
Right?
That's kind of, I'm excited for that whole, like the repops that are going to be popping up in the next 5-10 years.
We're already seeing it. Yeah.
Yeah. Or just like design as well. No, that's super exciting stuff.
No, and we're using 3D scanning to a pretty large degree.
What do you use for a 3D scanner?
I think we have an Einstar.
That's what we just got. It was like I can't remember which one model it was, but it was super cool. We were messing with it yesterday for some filming, and man, it's just crazy how far that technology's come.
Wild.
Like when we were doing something in the car, and it's like we didn't even put a marker down, and just it was crazy like how accurate it was. It's like the blue lasers or whatever. No,
and I love the intros. Like you wouldn't download a car, and then you kind of I think I told you earlier that like this is completely off topic, but there's a guy who designed an AR component based Gatling gun.
Yeah.
Completely, except for like the metal parts, 3D printable. And there's even one like feed ramp in there. He's like, yeah, I just need to 3D print this out of stainless. Here's like 12 companies that can print that for you out of like sintered stainless steel.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, like, why not just print it out of like,
and you can print it out of plastic. It's just going to wear out very quickly.
Yeah.
He's like, no, this wear item, this really needs to be metal. And you order a bunch of bearings off of like Amazon and AliExpress, and like $1,000 later and some printing, you've got yourself a Gatling gun that uses AR components. But the fact that like somebody, they have cup holder inserts and mounts for gauges, and that car actually has a 3D printed dash mount in it for our 7-inch dash. Company out of Australia called Mako Motorsport. They do really nice, like solid ABS plastic, and then they body work it and finish it and paint it. So it looks, it's a solid plastic part, but you look at the backside, I was like, guys, are you using like a 5 millimeter nozzle? Normally these nozzles on a 3D printer are like 0.4 millimeters.
Yeah.
0.6 is big. He's like, yeah, mate, that's like 5 millimeter nozzle. I'm like, holy shit. Like the amount of filament that thing's chewing through, but to print those parts solid in that scale, like they have to have a big nozzle, and they just sand it. They're not doing super high tolerance.
I understand. Okay.
Right. So they're knocking down the finish after the fact. And you can even do acetone vapor smoothing with ABS plastic. They may be doing that for some of the finishing. But yeah, like if they had to build a mold or a tool or fiberglass component to do all those parts, like they couldn't do a custom one-off part for you like they can. You can pick any dash in the world and put it in that car, and they just drag and drop the file, do a couple of tweaks, and away you go. So it's really cool to see how much more democratized modifying cars is, or even like a tweeter mount or a speaker mount, or like all the things that I did in the old days with fiberglass and tons of filler and bleeding hands. You can do with a scanner, right? And you can use your phone in some cases.
Yeah, I noticed you have some audio stuff back here. Did you have a big audio phase at some point?
Still kind of do.
Okay.
I mean, I like to buy vehicles for daily drivers where it's just good enough I don't want to mess with it. Like I daily drive an IS 500 in the factory sound system that it actually has pretty decent representation down low, and it doesn't make me itch. Like I'm not like a super huge audiophile in cars because they all sound terrible, because cars, no, but cars inherently are terrible for audio, right? There's so much background noise that, you can spend $100,000 on a car stereo system, and a good $5,000 home stereo is going to blow it out of the water. Like it just is the nature of being in a little metal and glass shell. But yeah, I like to have a little bass and, have most of the highs and lows represented. And plus you have older cars, like all my 90s junk, everything needs a stereo.
Right.
I'm sorry. Like they have so many rattles and squeaks. Like I'm going to go certifiably insane. I'm going to rate guns based on mouthfeel if I have to listen to the squeaks in those cars.
That's crazy. What's your most rattly, squeaky car?
Oh God. Probably my 350Z drift car, because it's like,
I can see that.
Yeah, it's like a solid mounted subframe and really aggressive differential, and those axles are probably not doing great, but it's you steer and all the diff loading and unloading and all the slack in the CVs, and it's fun though. That car, like, it works because I'm not driving that car long distances, but it's surprisingly actually half decent for. And then also like the cage in that car just creaks, which is a little disconcerting.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah, that's probably the worst one. Let me look around. Oh God, probably no, I haven't driven the DSM enough.
The 1G that was in the back?
Yeah, I haven't really put any miles in that because, I just haven't. But yeah, I'd probably, the 350Z drift car is probably a safe bet. Bizarrely, my 3500 Ram dually for the business has a more solid interior than my brand new Lexus IS 500. Like the door panels rattle more in the Lexus than they do in a like crappy plastic 3500 Ram.
What year's the 3500?
25.
Oh,
the
okay.
Lexus is a 24. I say it's brand new. I mean, it's 2 years old.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just funny that like sometimes the cheapest stuff is most solid.
Yeah. No, these new Rams are pretty nice too.
Oh, it pulls great. I mean, this is the 6-speed, the Ison 6-speed. I wanted the Ison Trans, not the Dodge Trans, and now they have the 8 HP in those trucks, which is rowdy.
Yeah,
so that'd be super cool.
But I have been very pleased.
Oh yeah, they should be. And here's the thing: I've had every one of the big three for tow vehicles. I had a Super Duty with the 10-speed single wheel, and I had a Denali with the 10-speed single wheel. The dually is so much better for towing, just for stability. And I have the overhead rack and put a side-by-side on top, which is stupid, but I have like an 1 5/8" rear sway bar, so it's fine. But it looks it's like 13 feet tall.
Yeah, so it looks crazy.
It's real stupid looking.
It gets attention though.
And that's it. Like
it's great for marketing.
But again, like I love that some of the best creations are because like fuck the government. So in California, the speed limit for any trailer whatsoever is 55 mile an hour.
Oh, really? Okay.
And so some off-road guys like, well, fuck you. I'm just going to put it on top. It's not a trailer if it's on the back of the truck.
That's crazy. I didn't know that they were limited to 55. I remember my first year coming down to Texas 2K, and there's one of the guys we had was trailering a Porsche down, and it was like 95 the whole way. And it's just like fished. That's just crazy to see, man.
Yeah. No, I have a bumper pull RV, which, you know, has to be bumper pull because there's a side-by-side on top. But I took that to King of the Hammers. That was a great setup because I had the Pro R 4-seater turbocharged, makes like 350 at the tire. It's like 30 inches of suspension travel. I have no business with any machinery at that level. Like, it's just way too much confidence given from that setup. And then, yeah, there were only a couple of moments I'm like, oh, no. Like coming into a little like banked corner, but the thing corners surprisingly flat, even with, you know, 3,000 pounds of stuff on top.
Right.
So I'm sure Ram is going to.
Did you go to this year to King of the Hammers as well?
Yeah, it was so sick.
Is it as crazy as people make it out to be? Like, is it one of those like, you can't talk it up too much sort of things? Everybody I've talked to says it's amazing. It's amazing.
And it's amazing at scale.
Okay.
Right. That I think a lot of events, you know, and this is no disservice to TX2K because I think it's a great event and it gets a lot of great people out to do really cool stuff. But the event's so big now, and there's the ratio of people participating to the people spectating is very low right now.
Okay.
There's a lot of spectators and not a lot of participants especially the dollar amounts that it commands to even get in the show. With King of the Hammers, everybody's a participant. They all bring out, whether it's a ratty old ATC 73 wheeler they inherited from their grandpappy and it's only going to start on the 7th crank of the rope, they can still go and play with everyone else that has, you know, brand new couple $100,000 or, you know, $500,000 or $750,000 trophy trucks, right? Everybody gets to go participate in some way. So I think just the level of like enjoyment out there, and everybody's out camping, having a good time. Like, you're not going to meet anyone out there that's unhappy to be there. And I think like 80,000 people in the desert doing that with like, it's basically like Burning Man with motorsports.
Yeah, that's kind of what I've heard.
And that's like a great combination. And everything's, you know, aside from doing really, really dumb stuff, it's legal to go as fast as you can physically go in your side-by-side through the desert and push it to its absolute limit, where like street cars are so fast now, you can't push limits on anything on the streets without putting yourself and many others in danger.
That seems to be a reoccurring topic. Like everybody, especially, again, I've developed quite the specific streetcar niche on my Facebook over the last few years. And it's like, everybody kind of agrees. Like, it's just gotten stupid fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, everything's doing like mid 2s, low 3s, 60 to 130s.
We are so desensitized to how fast that is.
Yeah. Well, it's like, I took a break because like one of my friends had an Nth Moto build car, right? And it's like just clicked off like a super low 3 or whatever. And it's like, I got used to it. Like there was one video and like they took him and he's like, man, it looks like he's sleeping in there. Yeah. I'm like, no, I'm just enjoying the ride. But it's like, it's stupid fast.
Yeah. Well, and I think that as we've, you know, and this is part of the control side too, that as we've done really well with traction control and power management and keeping these things safe, like,
you guys love to take all the credit, you ECU guys. What about the tires though, and all the other stuff?
Yeah. But they're making the most of the hard parts and really, there's no driver in the world that can manage power as effectively as a computer can. Same with brakes.
100%. Yeah.
We have this argument often where someone's like, oh, I can drive fast on ABS. Like, absolute bullshit. I'm so sorry. Like, how many brake pedals do you have? Do you have 4 of them? Because the computer does. And it can sense, you know, within a portion of a rotation, if that wheel is stalled, if it's decelerating, like, you don't have that data. I'm sorry. Like, you don't have 4 brake pedals. And you also can't vary the brake pressure left to right when you load up the car or load up the front, whatever it is. So like there's not a human in the world that can outbrake ABS. And like, oh, well, F1 doesn't have it. It's because they're not allowed to. F1 would love to have ABS. In fact, years ago, there was, I think, some murmurings that somebody had figured out how to use the regen as a form of ABS. And then before that, do you remember the front differential that got banned?
It doesn't ring a bell.
So those cars have no, like, they're not 4-wheel drive, but I think it was, what team was it? But they put small axles and I think a differential between the front wheels. I could be totally wrong on this. I think I might have read this on the internet, but they put a limited slip differential between the front tires to mitigate lockup. Because you're going to lock up whatever tires on the inside generally. But if you can just connect them with the differential where one can't really lock up without the other, it's like poor man's ABS.
Right. Yeah.
But it's not really ABS. So anyway, but that's the thing where like the computer just has way more control and at a way faster pace, it can cut the next cylinder that fires, right? If you lift throttle, you've got all that momentum and everything else. Like you just can't make corrections as fast.
Well, going back to the Formula One topic, I think was it when Schumacher was at Benetton or whatever? Like that they were like, or was it Senna? I don't know. It was late 80s, early 90s, I think. Might have been whatever. They were talking about like, oh, I can hear that car next to me has traction control. Like that was not allowed. Or
cutting
whatever.
out, yeah.
Yeah. It's like I don't know. I think it was Benetton. I'm blanking on. I'm getting the names mixed up. It's been a long day.
Yeah.
But what about EV stuff? Are you guys dabbling in EV stuff at all, or not really?
I haven't messed with anything yet. We've had a couple of our products make it into EV builds,
Right.
Like our power management units. They're just turning 12-volt circuits on and off. I that's the most oversimplification that I can do. But they can manage temperatures. They can manage, any logic you want to program into it. It can manage any 12-volt system really. Our keypads, our dash displays. The CAN bus is so open on our stuff. A lot of our competitors, it's either a pay to play to get the CAN bus unlocked, or they just don't let you do anything with it. And our stuff being really flexible, we see like one component maybe make it into a build that doesn't use our whole ecosystem, but it maybe it just can't because it doesn't have an engine or it doesn't have a combustion power plant or whatever it is. So we'll see them using our power management or our dash displays or something. So, they're not using our ECUs for that, but not to say they couldn't, but I don't know anything about that world yet.
What's your best-selling plug and play?
I'd have to go back and look. It might be like the IS300 GS300 right now.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's the one that we're actively developing. And we've been, I really hope to have this out in the last year, but this is the deal with development. Like you don't know it's done until it's done.
Oh, it's never ending.
And so that one, Toyota used this really obscure network for their dash cluster communication and AC requests and all this stuff. And so we had to validate it, not just on one model, but multiple models over multiple year splits, and then do all the auto trans control because we can control the auto trans through the EMU Pro. So it's just taking time to offer something, again, like built to the level that our side-by-side stuff is, where it plugs in and you really don't know if it's a stock computer or aftermarket until you start adding power and compensating for things that you've changed. But that's the goal. And then it just takes more time. And I'd love to release stuff faster, but I'd rather be really right and be a good advertisement for the company.
Oh, 100%. I have such an appreciation for basically every company ever, because like I've always been on the opposite side. Like I used to be the guy that was, messaging people like, oh, sponsor me, blah, 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 blah. Now I'm on the other side of things. I get to see the development, what goes into it, like the multiple iterations and delays with vendors and all that. And I'm like, man, like I have such an appreciation for that now. It's crazy.
Yeah. And it's hours and hours and hours. And, poor Petri, I mean, he worked on that. Like virtually zero progress for many, many weeks trying to figure out where the disconnect was, the code worked or it didn't, or, whatever it was, and just kind of reverse engineering stuff. When you don't really have a tool, you're making your tools to reverse engineer this stuff, right? Yeah. In some cases. So yeah, but it's just, it kind of takes cubic hours sometimes, right? If it's an easy plug and play where it's just wire to wire, like my RX-7, we made a really nice plug and play, and we still haven't released it because we need to find a car with the sequential factory turbos and validate the control system for that, which we need to be more active about finding a car to test on. But, at this point, like I really want to make sure that every factory feature is supported, so it's not an asterisk or somebody gets mad later because they bought it and didn't read the fine print. So it's just not worth the reputation ding to offer something that doesn't check all the boxes.
Yeah, I think I saw you guys are offering some sort of like B58 plug and play thing. Was that?
Yeah, that's the guys in Poland. So they've made a really, really good base map for it, and then they're going to build a full engine harness for it. So it'll be a swap only type deal, or just straight race car, because again, that car has so much going on in terms of networks in it that that's kind of a nightmare. But if you want to do like a full race application with a B58, and then if you wanted 8 HP, you could just do the turbo Lamech for the trans side. So
you're saying with that whole setup, you could basically take the B58 and put in anything at that point?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. Cause I was curious about that. I was just like, oh, that's a cool application.
Yeah. And my thing is like, I think it's a cool motor. Do I think it's going to be a practical swap application for a lot of people? I don't know. We'll see.
Well, it depends. I mean, if you're looking at like the Gen 3, are they at Gen 4 B58s yet?
I think it's just Gen 1 and 2, right?
I think the current generation, or I think they're up to 3. I know 3 for sure. Oh, it's 3, right? Yeah. My assistant in the background.
This is why I hate VW, because it's like every day somebody woke up and had their morning cup of coffee, they invented a new engine code.
Yeah. What the engine, help me out. In my car, is it Gen 4 in my Golf? Yeah, it's on 4, right? Yeah, okay. It's the Evo or whatever. So yeah. No. But we're iterating over here. It's the German way.
But it was like every day they come up with a new engine. Somebody's like, hey, is this plug and play ECU compatible with this? God damn it. I don't fucking know. Like somebody just woke up and chose violence and changed the engine code. And like, they might've changed like the spark plug heat range and that was it. I just don't know. Cause I'm not like an in the trenches VW guy. So I can't tell you what the differences are. So we have to research that for our customers, but we don't tell people to go fuck themselves.
Right.
But, but we try to help where we can, but man, there's so much tribal knowledge required in some of these platforms that it's just so deep. But yeah, they're working on I can't remember if they did the Gen 1 or Gen 2 first for the base map. Whatever generation they did, they're working on the other base map now.
Okay.
And then we're actively working on CAN bus integration for 8 HP control. That's still more limited than doing something like Turbolamic, which is like a real standalone for the trans. You kind of do whatever you want. And it's a lot more agnostic in terms of what generation of the trans you want to do. But I don't know if we're going to see the 8 HP trend stay. We probably will because it's a really great trans. But that's just, it's a lot of work.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like anything that's good sticks around for a long time. Right.
Yeah. And most of us have had one in a daily in something at this point where like I had a 2019 Ram that have like we've all touched one at some point. So we know that they work and they shift well. It's not like the early bunch of speed automatics that were kind of never in the right gear. And then once we got past that hurdle, we're like, all right, this doesn't suck as much as we thought.
I'm excited for that whole B58 market because like I had this conversation last year, I think. And it's like, think about the amount of cars that came with a B58. Like it's across the entire BMW lineup. And especially again, if you look at like the Gen 1, it's like everything. It's insane. So it's like when those start hitting the junkyard, it's gonna be pretty sweet. Yeah,
and at heart, like I'm still very much a budget conscious person.
Yeah,
and some of the cars I have, it wouldn't look like that, but like everything has been purchased with budget in mind. Like I think I may have purchased the cheapest ACR Extreme ever sold in the USA, quite possibly.
How many miles are on this?
31,000.
Okay.
So it's one of the higher mile ones too. So, but I think the trick is that the guy I bought it from was the first registered owner, but it had like 10,000 miles on it from journalists. So you can imagine like the thing had a rough life. So if the motor was going to fail, it was going to fail at their hands, not mine.
Right.
So that motor is well proven. And then he put like another 10, 12, 14 on it.
That's so cool, man.
And I bought it for like a hair over 100.
Oh, really? Oh, was this before COVID?
Uh-huh.
Dude.
Yeah. Because that's back when like a really nice, like super low mile one was like 130, because they were trading close to MSRP back then.
Yeah.
But I think I may have I wish I could do this with other things. I think may have actually timed the absolute bottom of that market and got in
just before it took off.
And I was somehow still able to sell my 2013 SRT, like red on black, for more money than I paid for it after like tripling the mileage on it. So yeah, I've done well with Vipers, but like this one's going to die with me. Like, this is going to be a forever car. Like the whatever money it's worth is immaterial because it's just not going anywhere. Just like my Supra.
That's awesome.
But that's a Mark III, so it's not worth anything anyway.
I do like the Mark IIIs though.
I do.
And like looks wise, and from what I heard, the engines aren't actually all that terrible either. Like
the 7M's not. The 7M needs completely gone through. And even once it's completely gone through, it has a lot of paper gaskets and it has 3 accessory belts.
That's right, yeah.
And so it's just it's a lot of futzing around to make it like
there's easier options for sure.
That's it. The JZ motor was just a decades later clean sheet design, and there are advantages to that. You cannot deny it. The 7M done well is a great motor, but you have to do it well. And that means taking it all the way down. And that's just the reality of it. But the JZ stuff is pretty hard to screw up.
Yeah. We're throwing LS, like,
I think there's right. Not that there's a wrong car to put an LS in, but I think there's definitely more right cars that LSs go into.
I know. Are you a purist at heart or not really?
Not really.
Okay.
No, I think some things I enjoy more, and like, would I turn down an LS RX-7? Absolutely not. But again, like, I think so much of the quirkiness and the charm of that car is in the rotary. Yeah. That I think that at its best form, it has a rotary of some form in it. So it doesn't mean I'm like going to look down on somebody because they put a piston engine in an RX-7. I don't care. Do you. Like, they're so cheap and have been, well, they were really cheap for a long time because a lot of them were blown up or just ugly colors.
Oh, dude, look at the RX-8. I saw one for like $1,500 in Michigan, and I'm like, man, that ain't a horrible, because apparently the chassis is insanely good.
It's a great chassis.
Right.
And we have all the CAN bus info for those. So if somebody does a swap, all you have to do is connect the 2 CAN wires and the factory cluster works.
So you're talking about like a K-swap sort of deal?
Whatever motor you want to put in it, whether you want to do LS, JZ, K series, like all your gauges work. You don't have to spend a bunch of money on a cluster. Cool. Yeah.
I think that's a market to watch in the next few years. Yeah. I don't know. I got
Same
feeling
with
on it.
FRS BRZ. Like, this is a great chassis. I don't love boxer motors, like I'm not going to cry if somebody yanks one out.
Yeah.
Like I'm just not. But I think that, Toyota may beat us to the punch, but I think like I didn't love the GR Corolla because I felt like it was a little too heavy and a little too understeery. But that motor in an FRS BRZ.
Oh, it should be insane.
Right. So I think it's a great, because it would get weight probably off the nose.
You think it's that much weight less?
It would probably be equivalent because it's adding a turbo and bullshit.
Well, it's like also don't like with the 3-cylinder. Again, I'm talking out of my ass on this one, but it's like, don't you have to add a bunch of stuff to kind of offset the fact that it's like such an
Super
unbalanced?
buzzy. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, but I just think that like that car kind of deserved a better motor. And
100%.
Sorry to all Subaru people out there, but like there's a reason that IAG is printing money, and that's because everybody needs a motor.
Yeah. Well, at least it looks like these. From everything I've heard, the 2.4s have been amazing outside of like the the early
the
issues,
silicone,
but,
silicone gate.
Yeah. But like, just it seems like such a big improvement over the 2.0.
Yeah,
which is cool because anybody that's like racing those FRSs, I've seen so many LS swaps.
No, my nephew got one of it was like a midnight purple BRZ as his like go to college car.
Okay,
and he's a brilliant student, super good.
This limp dick microphone.
but just like in my early years, I would have been jealous if somebody my age got a brand new car. But like he's earned every bit of that car. He's super responsible, great student. And yeah, it's a cool little car. I'm like, that'll serve you well for many, many years of life. And with the 2.4, it's pretty torquey, punchy car. Like it's kind of like the 2.4 is kind of what it needed to get over the hump. Mm-hmm. The 2.0, I feel, is just not quite enough.
There's a guy I had on the show, Schwartz Performance. He does like basically like you got like Roadster Shop and you got Schwartz Performance, like size wise, like for like resto mod stuff. Like he's up there.
Size-wise. I'm just thinking of all the Schwartz jokes from Spaceballs.
That's crazy. I haven't watched that movie in so long.
Oh,
damn,
it's classic.
Yeah, I need to catch up on that. But like the guy, like again, he has like all these track cars, and he has like like he tracks bikes or whatever. But like he has this FRS, like a 2013 whatever 14 FRS, and it's one of his. I mean, granted, now it makes like 600 wheel.
Yeah,
but like. The guy tracks the shit out of it. Like he bought that car, I think brand new. He's like, dude, this thing's perfectly balanced. Yeah. Like just an amazing car.
Yeah.
That's why I learned manual in technically.
Nice.
Yeah. I personally, like I see it between that or the Z4 because I had more time driving in a Z4, but like I technically learned how to shift in an FRS. Okay. So it's like, I don't know. But as we start to wrap up here, I want to talk about the car that's on the dyno right now. What's the story with that car?
Oh, yeah. So the one by the dyno, a friend of mine, John Dodson, built it many years ago. It's kind of the car has a neat story. I'll start from the beginning.
Yeah.
It's a 80 Malibu, old lady blue interior, like blue on blue, purchased new by two nuns, daily driven by two nuns for like 30 years. One of John's buddies buys the car, does like a clean LS swap. It still has like the billet plate for the AC lines through the firewall. Just like, bolt on LS swap, makes it a fun little cruiser. And then John buys it and proceeds to, in his words, ruin it. Makes it, proper, pretty rowdy race car. So it's a 427 dart block. I think it's an HPT ProMod 98 glide with straight cut gears, some kind of 9-inch, billet spindles and cool stuff up front and twin calipers up front and all the carbon panels in the back, but still has like most of the blue interior in it. Like the stock dash is there and the door panels and carpet. And then you look in the back seat and it's all like carbon sheet. But it has, funny car halo cage that's all painted like 80s blue to match. It's the original paint on most of it. But anyway, just really, really cool drag and drive car. He campaigned it for years with some friends. He did a bunch of drag and drive stuff. And I think he was just transitioning out of that, and like his kids are building cars now. They're getting older. I say older. They're in like, early 20s and they're working with him. And so he's, I think, more interested in hobbies and doing stuff with his kids.
Right.
Instead of doing a bunch of drag and drive stuff. But I wanted a platform. So with the EMU Pro, we have all the inputs and outputs required for a drag car. We just haven't really ever prioritized the strategies. Like I said, there's 0 drag strips in Poland. So this is something they can go out and like test all day long. So I'm going to have to kind of chip in and I wanted something that was fast enough to need strategies for traction management and wheelie management and all the timers and time-based functions and all this and that.
So this is the test mule, basically.
CO2 boost control. Yeah, it needed to be fast enough to need those, but cheap enough I can hot lap it and not cry that I'm campaigning a pro mod that blows up every third race, or, needs a set of valve springs every 3 runs, or whatever it is. Like, the consumables on this car will be, knock on wood, fairly inexpensive compared to really rowdy stuff. But
would you say it runs like 7.5s?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah,
dude.
but it's factory fenders, doors, quarters, roof, glass.
It's
insane. Dash is all there. I mean, really, like, there's nothing cut out. Like, I'm going to replace the window guides because the glass windows are a little wobbly when you roll them halfway down. But yeah, it's a really fast car, like 750s at 180 something at basically any track it's ever been to.
Who's driving it?
John.
Okay.
Yeah. No, he was. I'll drive it. Yeah. And I've not done really any drag racing aside from like a couple of passes in my Super back in the day. So good news is we can turn it way down and just sneak up on it.
Okay.
So I'll start with, practicing 60 foots and just.
Oh, but you're going to be the one that's going to be driving.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
I'll drive it.
Okay.
But I just need to get practice with the workflow, like the controls and when to reach for the chute. I just want to make sure that I'm not biting off more than I can chew.
Yeah.
But
no, that's an undertaking. It's one thing to, go after a pass and be like, all right, here's the changes I need to make. It's another thing to be like, all right, how can I give myself the tools to make these changes?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting.
Well, and I just don't have the bandwidth or the need. We need to develop strategies. I don't want to buy an untested car or build one. Could I build this car for what I paid him for it? No. Could I build a drag car? Sure, I could, but I don't have time to put into building it from scratch. I'd rather have something very proven. He basically gave me the cheat sheet of like, here's all the suspension settings, here's all the shock settings on the street, tire pressures on the street, tire pressures on the track, shock settings on the street, shock settings on the track. Here's how I ramp to boost in, whatever. It's like, I basically have the whole guide for that car should do. And so we can start from those baselines with our ECU in it. And then, I just didn't have time to sort out a car. I need to sort out control strategies. So it's a big shortcut.
Huh. Well, I guess that probably answers much of my next question, which is what's next for you guys? What's the next year, 2, 3 years look like?
I want to kick a bunch of people's teeth in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you saw our full harness production line and super proud we're going to do that here in Texas. I think my new tagline is going to be that if somebody's not telling you where they make their harnesses, that means they're really not proud of it. And I think that we've seen private equity buy out some companies and, some of the structural changes in some companies that are already, publicly traded or whatever. A lot of our competitors are not run by enthusiasts anymore. And I think I hope it becomes more apparent. Not that I want their products to get worse, but I think I hope that people see that the decisions I'm making are from the perspective that I'm out there on the weekend using it too.
Yeah.
And that's what I want people to see.
That's a badass perspective too.
That, this isn't not every decision. We have to make cost-based decisions. I'd love to put TEFCell wire in everything we make, but the reality is it's expensive. And if you don't need TEFCell, TXL is a great wire for 99% of applications.
Can you actually touch on that? We talked a little bit about that earlier, but kind of go into that a little bit more. Yeah.
So TEFCell is just a Teflon insulation, like motorsport wire. You see it in motorsports quite a bit. It's better at higher temperatures, but you're generally not going to see those in most, unless you're trying to do like DR25 sleeving and you need heat resistance for that and running components really close to hot things. But, most harnesses like TXL is what's going to be in most OEM harnesses anyway. It's a very good, fire retardant material. It's rated to high temperatures. I've forgotten what's like 105C or something. It's a good material, but in volume when we're buying, we've got one drum over that has 40,000 feet of wire in it. So when you're buying 40,000 of something, the price starts to matter a little bit.
Holy shit, 40,000 feet is insane.
Yeah. No, I just want to like tie one end to an end of a car and see how far we can drive.
Dude, what's that feet? Like, so what? There's 5,000 feet in a mile.
It's like almost 8 miles.
That's 8 miles.
It's like 7 miles and change of wire. And I don't know if it's continuous. Maybe it's like spliced somewhere in the box. It's not one continuous strand, but maybe it is. I can find out with the multimeter real quick.
Dude,
it's connected to both ends.
So what are your thoughts then? Are you like, are you trying to lean towards like that sort of like manufactured in America side of ways, or like what are your thoughts on the whole? And this is a touchy subject for some people.
Yeah, but it's kind of yes, kind of no, because ECU Master is a Polish company.
Oh, true. Yeah,
so that would be disingenuous. But what they make is made in their facility in Poland by very talented, passionate people, and most of those guys who work there are enthusiasts. If they're not racers themselves, they appreciate it and they love that what they make is going in something really cool. Like they're bought in, even if they're not racing themselves. So I think that more what we'll lean into is that it's made by enthusiasts for enthusiasts, right?
Okay.
The owner of the company has a race car. He spends his weekends often at the racetrack, and just as I do on this side of the world. So I think that's the key thing. But for us, I'm proud that we make stuff in house. It's cool to learn these techniques and offer something very high quality and control the quality very closely.
And that was the big thing that kind of pissed you off, was like the lack of quality, right? Or
It didn't necessarily piss me off, but it was just shocking to me that somebody would make something and make it that poorly, knowing what the end use case was for transportation. And that's a big safety concern, if nothing else. So
interesting.
It's just, again, turns out it's easier to control it in-house than it is to rely on somebody. Depends on your part. Maybe I'm sure there's some great manufacturing partners out there, but
yeah, there's that too, right? Like that's something I'm also starting to get an appreciation for is like, even if you're working with a vendor overseas, it's like, it has to be the right vendor still.
But it's also too, I've been slow to hire and I've got really good people, and we've done a lot of scaling with what most people would consider a skeleton crew. And at this point, I think we have really good procedures and methods and equipment and test procedures. And, if we nail all the procedures, then I think that it'll be much easier to hire and train people and onboard them for manufacturing roles.
Okay. So scaling is the next few years, hopefully.
And that's it. And then we're going into so many more markets now with the direct injection. This year we'll release for sure an LS and LT harness. I'd like to probably do the 2.3 EcoBoost harness.
Oh, okay.
So I think that's a great little motor. It's lightweight. You can get it. I don't like transmission adapters if I can avoid them. You can get it bolted to a rear-wheel drive 6-speed transmission. And I think that stuffed in some lighter cars is really cool and sustainable because they're new and available.
Yeah, actually, again, it's kind of cool. I'm starting to connect the dots. Up when I was in Detroit, I had some guys on that literally focus on the EcoBoost, and I think their go-to solution right now, I think it's literally just Link.
Yeah,
I think so. So that's gonna be cool to have. Again, I love seeing more offerings on the market. So that's a sweet one. I saw you post something about the LT. I think it was, what was it? It was like a C7 going on.
Yeah. In fact, there's a 6th gen Camaro behind me. So the guys in Poland are making a plug and play adapter for either a 6th gen Camaro or a C7 Corvette. And we're going to test all the variants. And they've already got the trans control, the integration with the auto trans sorted out. The DI is extremely well sorted. Basically, like, you get in the car and it rips. Like, shifts great, engine works great. They've got an LT1 Camaro over there. They've tested it on quite a bit. And so we'll do the LT4 stuff as well. That'll be like a straight plug and play solution where you can add port injection on top, because so many of these guys have been running god awful piggybacks or just a shit ton of meth injection and no power management strategies and really just sketchy stuff at those power levels. So we'll be able to offer something really, really competent at a pretty fair price. So that's a big one. How
does market selection work? You remember when I said I was going to end this like 10 minutes ago? How does market selection work for you? Is it like, does the guys in Poland making decisions? Are you bouncing ideas back and forth?
Some, because sometimes we need their help with something, right? Like doing a clean sheet DI application, we don't have the skill set here to do that just yet, right? We haven't done enough of it to really tackle one clean sheet. They have a lot more equipment over there than we do. They have a couple of guys that have deeper backgrounds with DI stuff on OEM ECU sides. So, they've handled all the DI stuff so far. We've got a couple of really good dealers who've done a lot of DI stuff, so we can rely on them for some things. Cool. And we'll get better as we play with it more. We'll learn a lot more, but I want to learn on my stuff, not somebody else's. Genuinely. That's why there's so many cars here, is that I don't,
this little handful.
No, but I don't like the customer being like, usually if I've tested, like if I hand somebody something, I've done dumber stuff with it, then they probably will.
Yeah.
And in fact, I got to experience that on the other side, that one of our really good dealers, he owns FTA Inc., which literally means fuck them all, which I love.
That's cool.
Yeah. Brilliant tuner, great wiring guy. And we were at King of the Hammers. It happened to be my birthday. He's like, hey, we're going to go do something cool. I'm like, what are we doing? He's like, oh, we're going to go, it's a company called Sasquatch Crawlers. And so they do these badass rock crawlers, a 2.3 EcoBoost, 4L60 paddle shifted from the EMU Pro, DI by the EMU Pro. The rowdy one makes like 400 horsepower and 4,000 pound things, because like the front tires are filled with water all the way to the top. They have like 40 or 44 inch tires on them. They have a Sadev multi-clutch disconnect behind the transfer case, so you can do front digs. 4-wheel steer, 45 degrees of steering angle, front and rear pull down winches. And yeah, and I was like, hey guys, like, should I like to be really respectful of other people's cars, especially a customer. Like, these guys are end user customers that have bought my products, and I'm super thankful. They're like, there's legitimately nothing you can do to this thing we haven't done. I was like, all right, I'm going to take your word for that. So I'm just like crawling over rocks that are the size of a minivan and super impressive. But yeah, the DI side will grow for us, I think, a lot.
Okay.
We'll get way deeper in the domestic side. The C7 platform, I think there's still people playing with that platform enough they could use good management on it. And then also we're putting LTs in everything now because LSs are drying up.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah, it's not. I see it all the time in forums. Like it's not like as cheap as it once was.
No, and DI legitimately makes more power than port injection. No matter how many times they want to argue against it, if you're not displacing fuel in the ports, you're making more power. Or excuse me, if you're not displacing air in the ports with fuel, you're making more power.
I'm actually, maybe you can answer this, is I've always kind of seen as like DI has like a kind of like a window and then kind of port comes back into play. Is that true or not really?
In terms of capacity?
Like, let's say like if I've noticed, like, for example, I'm going to use the B58 or sorry, S58 guys. Like they basically eventually get rid of DI system. They just go full on port, for example. Is that always the case? Is it just limited to a power window or how does that work?
I think there's a couple of factors there. I think a lot of that's fuel choice too.
Okay.
If it's a methanol car, direct injection is not, like the benefits of methanol outweigh what advantages you'd see with direct injection, I think, or it's so negligible at that point. It's not worth maintaining two systems or dealing with the tuning aspect of that. You got to think too, that a lot of those cars at that power level, if you're talking, several hundred horsepower per cylinder, you can't do 80, 100 pulls on the dyno to dial that in. You're going to go to the track, you're going to rough it in on the dyno, go to the track and make a few passes here and there. You don't need a lot of knobs to tune. So I think simplicity is one aspect of it.
Okay.
I think, the ECU hardware in play, like if you need lots and lots of big injectors, you can't eat up a lot more to those channels with DI as well. So it becomes just a choice based on that standpoint. But I think we're seeing the DI systems, we're finding a lot more capacity there than we maybe had at first. A lot of OEMs retain port for keeping the valves clean. And those are great because then you just add capacity with port, but leave the DI for the other advantages of it. That's fantastic. But a lot of the LT stuff we're seeing guys making like on just a barely breathed on truck motor, high 600s with DI. And then like there's no 16 injectors to wire or maintain. Like for most people, like most not straight line racing applications, but for most like road course drifting, whatever, high 600s is a lot for any of those use cases, right? Or even a fun street car, right? The simplicity and fun factor of that. And you don't have to have terrible drivability or huge stupid camshaft that's way more than you need. Like the sacrifices are dwindling as we get better with DI stuff.
That makes sense. Is there anything else you wanted to touch on before I pop my last question?
No.
My actual final question?
No, I just think like the big markets that I'm really looking forward to, like the diesel DI, that's a big one. Very niche, but I think we'll saturate that pretty quickly. And then, direct injection on gas stuff. And then, V8 drag racing harnesses, and just having full harness offerings, I think will open a big window for us too, because every car I love has a crappy 30-year-old harness in it now.
Dude, that's awesome. I'm excited for you. That's gonna be a party next. Yeah, that's cool. Well, at the end of every episode, I like to ask a guest to pick 3 cars. You have an unlimited budget.
Okay.
And it goes like this: you have to pick a daily driver, a show car, and a track car.
Okay. No consideration for operating costs. This is
no,
dream car on every front.
You could put 2 cars together if you want to. However you want to go about it.
God, I'm going to need a team for maintenance on probably all of these, because I'm probably going to go with like just the worst things to maintain. And if it's not my problem. So what is the daily driver?
Yep.
That's the first one.
Yeah, you don't have snow down here, so you could choose anything you want.
That's very true.
Lucky duck.
Man, I might just stick with my IS 500.
Okay.
No, genuinely. Partially because I can't modify it because there's nothing to modify. I did mid-pipe and exhaust and some like BC Forge wheels and Swift springs, and that's it.
You have to show me a picture of this thing after.
Yeah. It's a great car, but like that was the stopping point, and I can't ruin it beyond there because there's not like a turbo kit calling my name on the shelf somewhere. It just doesn't exist for those cars. So that's a great, because I haven't really experienced any of the German stuff. I don't know if it's good or not. I'm sure it's great, but I don't have like lust after the German things that I haven't owned. So no, I'll do R6 Avant.
Okay, this is basically a big RS6.
Yeah, but I'll go with the stupid wagon, like the RS6 Avant. Like I'll go with that as the ultimate daily. That's a good one.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Yeah.
I love how this thing sounds insane. It's literally the same 4.0, just my brother says smaller turbos apparently.
Yeah, we'll go with the dumb wagon. That's a good
dumb
one.
Wagon. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and then track car and show car. Any kind of track, by the way.
Track car. Again, we talked briefly about my friend that gets to tune the Mazda historic fleet. Yeah, I'm gonna steal his 787.
Shit, that's sick.
I mean, like you couldn't go to any track in the world and not be the coolest guy, even if you turn the slowest lap time.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't think I'd ever get tired of driving that thing on track. Also less terrifying than like the Porsche 962s. Those things I think were legitimately frightening machines. I think the 787 was like not as much a widowmaker. So yeah, we'll go with that for the track car.
Then show car.
Show car, I'd say probably like, probably Ford GT, but the good one.
The 0506?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah. I nothing against the EcoBoost cars, but I think that like, I think part of it's the age I was when that car came out. Just like with the Vipers, like I was 8 years old when the first Viper came out. That was super
I don't think
imprinted
that plays
in my
with
brain.
it. I don't think there's going to be as many, like the amount of people that had the 0506 GT as like the poster car. I don't think there's going to be as many kids that had that generation as a poster car.
Yeah. And this plays into like, this is a whole other discussion we could have, but I think that every hypercar on the market is so disconnected from reality that they're less appealing.
Maybe. Yeah.
There's no emotional attachment with hypercars to me anymore because none of them mean anything to me because they're so like,
Is it crazy that the Veyron seems like more attainable than anything that's out there?
Yeah.
Right. Like when you look back at it, it's like, oh, it's $1 million. Like, you know, now you're looking at $3, $4, $5 million. It's like, okay.
And what about any of them would draw me to any of them over anything else in that category? They're all such a grotesque display of statistics at this point. There's nothing endearing about it except for the Gordon Murray, like the T50.
Yeah, which is cool.
Yeah, that has a personality, but I think the rest of them are so soulless because they're basically built on a wish list of stats that they mean nothing to anyone aside from
some stats make it happen.
That's it. Like there's not anything, like there were no constraints in making them. I think the best cars are made with very tight constraints.
Yeah. Let me look at the ZR1, the new ZR1.
Yeah.
That was a long laundry list of constraints and they somehow made it happen.
Right. And I think like, I think this is one of the reasons that NA Miata was so brilliant is that they had so many constraints to fight with, right? To keep it at that price point and keep it simple. Like that's kind of what made it good, is fitting it all in that box. It was such a brilliant packaging thing. But yeah, the Viper, I think the constraint was that they had like a 12-cent budget and some leftover McDonald's and 4 dudes who were just going to make it happen no matter what.
Yeah. No, there's some cool stories from Detroit on that one. On that note, where can everybody find you?
Yeah. So ECUMasterUSA.com. You can find us at DeltaABS.com, VerklineUSA.com. All of our socials are everywhere on Instagram, Facebook, should be on TikTok probably. Yeah. I'm sure we probably have accounts created. I just don't check them.
Sure.
My media guys do. Yeah, we're on YouTube for ECUMaster, doing a lot more how-to videos here in the near future. But yeah, find us on socials, find us on our website, and hopefully see you at the racetrack.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show. This is awesome. Thank you everybody for listening, and I'll see you all next time.
Thank you.